Good evening, councillors and members in the public gallery. I will officially open this evening's ordinary council meeting at 7 p.m. Thank you for your attendance tonight. I'd like to remind everyone in the chambers to ensure that comments are respectful to the council and all meeting attendees, including city officers and those in our public gallery. Please note this meeting is being live streamed. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 3 is announcements from the presiding member, and there are none this evening. Item 4 is attendance, and all councillors are present in the chamber this evening. Applications for leave of absence. Would anyone like to apply for a leave of absence? Councillor Sutherland.
Yeah, just for one night, for tomorrow, the 25th to the 26th of March.
So just the 25th though? Okay, so just the 25th of March. Anyone else? I'll apply for the 9th of April, just one day. Do I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Latta, seconded Councillor Black. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Item 5 is disclosures of interest. Luke Bodicar, our Director of Infrastructure and Assets, has an impartial interest on item 10.1.3, motion 13, as he is indirectly related to the elector who submitted the motion. Luke Bodicar has not participated in the assessment or consideration of this matter. Councillors, do you have any interest to disclose? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I have two impartial interests with regards to the same item, 10.1.3, the AGM of electors meeting. The first one is about motion 12. I am a member of the Maylands Historical and Peninsula Association. And the second one with regards to motion 16, I own property in the proposed speed limit area. However, I am satisfied that it's an interest in common due to the size of the area. I will stay in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sosowski.
My declaration of interest is for item 10.1.3, the motions from the 2024-25 AGM of electors. It's an impartial interest. I know people who have submitted motions through my role as a councillor, and I'm also closely associated with the person who has submitted motion number 14, that person being my spouse. Impartial, stay in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 10.1.3 motions from the 24-25 AGM. Impartiality interest to declare. I'm a member of the Bayswater Historical Society for motion 12. I'll stay in the room for that one. In addition, item 10.4.1, development application, Outback Paddle Proprietary Limited proposed paddle courts. The proponent has discussed another project in the city with me prior to my election as a councillor. It is impartial. I'll stay in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Latta.
Thank you. I have a proximity interest to declare for 10.1.3 motion 8. I have a business on one of the streets mentioned in the motion, so I will leave the room for that one. And I have 3 impartial interests to declare. One for 10.1.3 motion 16. The speed limit reduction in the peninsula area. I live in the area specified in the motion, but I'm satisfied it is an interest in common due to the size of the area. On 10.1.5, out of school hours care, I sponsor awards at the school, but this item does not have any financial effect and is just for noting. So I will stay in the room. For 10.1.3, motion 12, the History and Heritage Officer, my business sponsors an organisation, the Historical Society, who gave deputations at the Agenda Briefing Forum, but again, does not have any financial effect, so I'll stay in the room for that.
Thank you. Councillor Pitaway.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just an impartiality interest in, I am a social member of the Morley Noranda Sporting Complex. So I will be staying in the room for that as well.
That's item 10.4.1.
Oh, sorry, yeah, item 10.4.1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Sutherland.
Yes, the same one, 10.4.1, and a development application for the paddle courts at Naranda Sports Complex. I'm a social member there, so it's impartial. I'll be staying in the room. And also 10.1.3, the motions from the AGM of electors. I know some of the people that put the motion up.
And you'll be staying in the room. It's
Staying in the room,
impartial.
they're all impartial.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay, so we'll now move on to item 6, which is public question time. So, councillors, the city has received questions in writing from 7 members of the public this evening. The questions and responses are listed in your run sheet and I'll take those as read. The questions and responses are also available on the city's website and will be provided in the minutes for this meeting. Members of the gallery, I'll first call for questions on items on this evening's agenda, and then I will open to questions on items not on the agenda. Please provide your name and suburb before you ask your question, and keep in mind you are limited to 3 questions. So, who would like to ask a question on this evening's agenda? Anyone? Come forward.
Good evening. I'm Kate Bowker from Bayswater. I wanted to ask a question with relation to agenda item 10.1.3, motion 16 from the General Electors AGM. My question relates to the fact that the officer's recommendation does not support the implementation of a speed trial. And my question is, I believe this is in contradiction to the 2014 bike plan, which was endorsed by council, and the most recent bike plan, which is the 2023 bike plan, which both have actions and mentions about implementing speed reduction trials in the city. The 2023 bike plan, action number 10, specifically says consider reduced speed trial in parts of City of Bayswater. So I'm a bit perplexed at how we've got a bike plan endorsed by council and the city's officers, and now we've got a motion that contradicts an action in that bike plan.
So that's your question?
Yes.
I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, the officer's recommendation is based around the fact that we'll be rolling out the low-cost urban road safety program in the Maylands Peninsula area. We're fairly close to having that work done out there. We're in the process of procuring a contractor and getting those works to occur out there. The plan is that once the works are done and we spend the next 6 months after those works are completed to collect data in terms of what the traffic speeds and occurring around that area, then we'll revisit the matter about the traffic speeds in the area with council with the intention of potentially implementing a 40km/h speed zone area.
I have another question.
No, I don't. I'm not entirely sure that answers my question, because the bike plan doesn't refer to the low-cost urban road safety program. It's talking about making our streets safer.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question on this evening's agenda? You just need to press the.
Aviv Silman, Naranda. I'm just asking, does the city have or did it request a software bill of materials for Project Eden?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director to respond.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, can I just ask that he restates the question?
Do you mind repeating that, please?
Do you have, or did you even request, or have you requested a software bill of materials for Project Eden, which is like a list of all the dependencies that go into the software for Project Eden?
I'll go to the director.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we have dependencies outlined as part of our project management framework, but I would have to take on notice whether those dependencies are the inputs for the software.
Okay. Do you know how many different awards you have for the employees that work at the City of Bayswater?
When you say awards, do you mean like their employment awards?
Yes, employment awards.
Employment awards. I'll go to the director to respond.
We have 2, Madam Mayor.
Okay. That'll be all for now.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question?
Georgina Kerr, Bedford. This relates to item 10.3.1, verge tree removal request at 36 Clark Road, Morley. So my first question is it correct that a request from an adjoining property owner to remove a verge tree would only come to council if the request has been deemed to not meet the required conditions for removal of a verge tree under the Trees on Private Land and Street Verges policy?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, in regards to the policy, that particular policy that you mentioned is actually related to land development. So if there's a development occurring on the property, then that applies. What we do use is the urban tree planting and maintenance policy. Under that policy, it does give options for the city to consider removing a tree under certain circumstances. So when we do get a request to come in, we'll go and look at the tree, do an investigation and see whether it warrants removal under the policy. If it doesn't, well, then we decline that request from the resident. What we try to do then is look at whether there's other remedial actions we can take, like removing dead wood or just taking some remedial works on the trees. If the resident isn't satisfied with that approach, then they do have the option of taking the matter to council.
How many verge tree removal requests have come to council in the past 5 years, and how many of those were approved by council?
I think we may have to take that on notice.
Sorry, I did submit it in writing, but only just in time. So
Sorry, I'll just see. You might have the answer for 5
I
years
do have
data.
the answers.
Okay, there you go.
So there were 6 verge tree removal requests that were considered by council in the last 5 years. 3 were approved and 2 were not approved, and there's 1 tonight on the agenda.
thank you. Do the city's tree canopy projections, which obviously take into account a certain proportion of tree deaths, do they take into account removals approved by council in direct contravention of the city's own policy?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, the city, in terms of its projections, we use a model that has a range of assumptions in there. Those assumptions are built around information that we collect. So when we do the LiDAR survey, we know how many trees have been removed through that, or how much canopy's been removed, not necessarily how many trees, but how much canopy. And we know how many trees have been planted and how much change there's been in that canopy. In terms of individual requests that go through council, we don't throw that into the model because it's only a few requests that come through council, but it is assumed as part of the assumption in terms of how many trees are lost in that model. So it does form part of that. There are more trees that are taken out for various reasons, some on private land, some on public land. But those ones that come through council are basically absorbed in that number that's used in those projections.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Am I on? Good evening, Mayor, councillors and city officers. Dan West from Maylands. My question relates to item 10.3.1. My question is, what would the cost be to ratepayers to supply, plant and maintain 169 35 litre trees?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, so it's about $400 per tree, so it's 169 times 400 is the figure. The 400 includes planting, supply planting and maintaining those trees, or each tree for 3 years in its establishment phase.
So help me out with the maths. What does that total at?
It's somewhere around just under 70,000.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question on this evening's agenda? Come through.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Forsman. I'm just representing Outback Paddle as part of the paddle proposal for Morley Naranda. Just have 3 questions tonight. First question, is the council aware that under the Environmental Protection Noise Regulation of 1997, compliance with prescribed assigned noise levels is a suitable guide to amenity, and that 2 independent acoustic assessments, including one by a consultant present here this evening, have confirmed that the proposed development complies with these regulations.
So that will be considered by council tonight, but yes.
Okay, thank you. Further, is council aware that the proposed operating hours for the paddle facility are consistent with what is legally permissible under the regulations and are aligned with the existing approved operating hours of the Morley and Noranda Club, which extend to 10 p.m?
Yes.
Thank you. Then just the last question, just regarding traffic and parking. Is the council aware that the traffic impact statement, as reviewed and accepted by the city, concludes that there is sufficient existing parking supply and that the surrounding road network has the capacity to comfortably accommodate the anticipated traffic generated from the proposed development?
My understanding is that is included in the report, but I will just go to the director to confirm that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I can confirm that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If there's no other questions on the agenda, I'll move to a question. Questions not on the agenda. Anyone have a question? Please come forward.
Hello, Sharon Bazitas from Noranda. For 3 years, I've approached a variety of councillors regarding wire cash for cans baskets to be installed at Robert Thompson Reserve. A lot of nod heading and agreement, but no action. So why is the City of Bayswater lagging so far behind in this area?
Thank you for your question. I'm not aware of any requests that you've made, so we'll take that on notice.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Rob Strong, Bayswater. My questions tonight, I have 3 questions. They're on erosion and accessibility for the foreshore, particularly at A.P. Hines Reserve between the Sea Scouts and Garrett Road Bridge. I've been living in the area and using the foreshore for over 30 years, and we've seen significant erosion in that time, loss of tree canopy, and I'd just like to get a couple of updates. Firstly, 2019, this was identified and brought to the Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee and identified as an issue by Perth College, A&A Rowing Club and Bayswater Paddle Sport Club, both the erosion and lack of accessibility for people with disabilities. My background is working with people with disabilities and have seen lots of lack of opportunities for us to bring people in with disabilities. So in 2021, the City of Bayswater accepted the Bayswater Foreshore Inspection Report and adopted the 10-year priority plan, where it identified this area as an area of needing urgent address. So my 3 questions are, can we please get some sand put in place until the final decision of the action plan is instigated to arrest the erosion and improve the safety for those currently using the river? In the last 9 months, we've had parts of the old swimming jetty has now been exposed. That wasn't exposed, so we've got 1.8 metres of the old jetty is now exposed, which just gives you an indication of the amount of damage that has happened to the foreshore. So that's my first question.
Do you want to ask all 3 of them before?
Whatever you like.
We'll do them individually if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
So I'll go to the director to respond to this one first.
Through the chair, so in terms of topping up that area with sand, the city can't just go in there straight up and put sand in there. We need to get the necessary approvals. We do deal with DBCA, Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attractions, who also have joint responsibility of that area. So we will engage with them and look at what we can do and whether we can replenish the area with some sand.
I'd like it noted that I've been there for 30 years and we haven't, for at least 10 years, and at least 8 years, it's been identified as needing urgent addressing. There's been no mitigation, so we've now lost 1.8 metres of foreshore. So we're losing a significant amount, so I'd like that noted, please.
Noted.
Question 2, can we please get a timeline and commitment from the council that they will agree to work with community and current sporting clubs to identify and install an appropriate accessible facility for people with disabilities and restricted mobility?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, so there is a master plan that's being worked on for that area. That's still in progress. In several months' time, they'll be presented to council again for adoption, for final adoption. And when that's presented, that will include in that plan to do something in that area in terms of accessibility on that beach area there, and also council, when it last considered the master plan, which was back in August last year, council actually requested that the city look into providing access there at that beach. So we are looking at undertaking a feasibility to look at the different options and what could work in that area, and that will be undertaken in the next financial year when we go ahead with that feasibility study. That will determine what type of structure, how it will work, and we'll engage with the necessary people to be involved in that.
I'd really like to highlight the fact that this has been identified 8 years ago, and there's been, again, it's one of those, there's been a lot of talk, and we're losing conditions there, and we're also having athletes that are not able to attend, people that are newly disabled. If you can't see it, you can't be it. We've got such great facility there right up until when we get to the water. But thank you. Question 3. There's less than 5 years left on the previously mentioned 10-year priority plan. Can you please identify what has been achieved so far and what commitments are still to be addressed?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director.
Yeah, through the chair. So as mentioned, we are working on a new master plan there that was funded through the state. In terms of what was achieved under the previous plan, I'll have to take that on a notice and provide a summary of what's been achieved.
And can we also address what's still to be achieved? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question?
Harvey Tonkin, Naranda. I would like an update on the cleaning of the tiles at the City of Bayswater Waves building, please.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, so we are still investigating a solution, a long-term solution in regards to the cleaning there and what the causes are for the issues there. That's probably all I've got to say at this point in time, that we're still looking into it and we are working on a solution.
Okay. And the second...
sorry, I'm just going to also refer to the CEO.
Just through you, Madam Mayor, just to add to that, I was actually down at that facility within the last couple of weeks and spoke to the staff and the directors, and one of the other things that we're looking at, Mr Tonkin, is some additional cleaning, to do some of the deep cleaning and the costing of that, so that we can actually remove some of that grit from the surface on a more regular basis. And then once we can do a trial on that, we can bring that back to council for consideration as an operating cost. So we are looking at enhanced cleaning as well.
Okay. And the second question I have is 10 years ago I asked the council to set up a City of Bayswater guest login, and it was very good. I was able to log in down at Bayswater Waves here, wherever the city had. It's disappeared. Is there a particular reason? It lasted for a long time.
You're talking about guest Wi-Fi access? Yes. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Madam Mayor, I'll take that on notice. I imagine it may have to do with some security controls, but I will take that on notice and provide a response.
It lasted for about 8 years.
Yes,
I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that was the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Wendy Garstone, Maylands. My first question is, can the council please provide a summary regarding the tree canopy amenity at Morley Galleria? And by this, I mean including the number of existing trees, the number that will be removed under the current development approvals, and also the number of new trees that are required to be planted under these approvals.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, thanks for the question. So the Morley Galleria site currently has a relatively low level of canopy. It's mostly limited to scattered car park planting. And as part of the approved redevelopment, there will be existing trees that will be removed to make way for the redevelopment. But importantly, the approvals require a significant amount of new planting across the site, and they're a condition of the approval. And this includes streets, public spaces and car parks, which will result in more trees overall and a better distributed canopy in the long term. I note from the plans submitted as part of the approval, there are 79 trees to be retained, 12 to be transplanted, and overall the landscape plan shows approximately 300 new trees to be planted across the site. So whilst in the short term there may be a loss of some existing trees to facilitate the redevelopment, the outcome in the long term will be stronger, more integrated tree canopy as the new planting establishes over time.
Thank you. My second question relates to trees along Memorial Drive in Bayswater. I'm aware that many were damaged severely by the storm in December, but just a few days ago I noticed there were quite a few in a row that had been cut down to the ground. So I'd appreciate some background on the different reasons why these trees are being pruned and removed.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, trees have been removed for various reasons, notably the storm damage that we had. So some trees were damaged beyond recovery, so they've been removed. There's been other trees that have actually died basically because of the conditions, the ground conditions. So that's why they've been removed, and they will be replaced.
Okay. Will you be able to quantify the numbers in the council report?
I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, yeah, we'll provide the numbers, yes.
Thank you. And my third question is one, actually it's two questions that I'm reading on behalf of Aileen O'Rourke, who couldn't be here this evening. And the background that she's provided is, and I'll read from her notes, I am a bit confused about the responsibilities of councillors to speak after a decision by the council where their stated opinion represented the minority. So my questions are, number one, does the Local Government Act or Code of Conduct ask councillors to reflect the majority view once the vote has concluded?
Thank you for your question. We'll take that on notice.
Okay, thanks. And the second question posed by Aileen is, it would seem appropriate that councillors should explain to their community the reasons for their dissent and, with community support, perhaps challenge the decision in the future. How then does council balance a councillor's duty to represent the interests of their community with the expectations of collective responsibility?
Councillors have the opportunity to debate in the chambers when the issue's been considered.
Okay,
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question?
Just two more questions. Did the percentage of canopy in the City of Bayswater increase or decrease based on the 2021 and 2024 LiDAR surveys?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, it decreased slightly.
I will just add to that, if my recollection is correct, it increased on public control land, so land under the control of the City of Bayswater. The canopy actually increased. It was the other areas where it decreased. Is that correct, Director?
No, that's correct.
Correct.
So overall a decrease?
Yes.
Yep, thank you. Second question is, what is the urban canopy for Morley?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, I'll have to take that one on notice.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else have a question?
Kate Bowker, Bayswater. I have some questions with regards to the proposed signalling intersection of Frinton, Stone and Garrett Road. So currently this proposal is online through the Engage platform. However, I've become aware that there has been no consultation with the properties that are going to be directly affected by the current proposed design on both Stone and Frinton. So is this usual practice that the survey goes out for public consultation before properties directly affected are consulted?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, I believe all the properties in that in the vicinity are being consulted. I'll take it on notice and I'll find out exactly which properties are being contacted.
We'll take that on notice, as
Okay,
he said.
you can ask 2 of the residents here, but that's, not correct. My next question is also related to that intersection. So the current design is going to make it easier for people to move through the residential areas of Bayswater on both sides of Garrett Road. So what controls are going to be put in place to manage rat running?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, there's through the LCURS program, we have, we're putting in treatments. We've put some down Trailman Road. There's going to be more treatments in the area. We can put more treatments after the signals go in if there is rat running through the area. Putting the signals in, there's no slip lane turning into Stone Street. You need to stop at the traffic lights to be able to turn left. So in terms of rat running, I know there's a lot of talk about rat running, but it is a consideration that is taken into the design process. And at the moment, it's out for public consultation. If people are concerned that there's going to be rat running or they're concerned about the design, I'd suggest that people put those comments in through the consultation process and we'll consider those.
Okay. And with the proposed signalisation, there's going to be opportunities for pedestrians to have the beg buttons and crossings. So what groups will be engaged in terms of representing people that utilise the river? So I'll point back to the earlier person's comments about the people with disabilities that use the foreshore. There's people that fish and use the foreshore, take their kayaks down there. There's lots of parents in the area that use prams, and that's bigger than normal prams. It's also part of the Bayswater bike bus route. So how are those people going to be specifically consulted to ensure we get a design that pedestrians can actually utilise?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, the design will meet all the current standards and guidelines. So that includes pedestrians crossing the road and at the signals. So that will be incorporated into the design. So basically we'll meet the current standards.
I think that's where my challenge is, because the current standards, you get 3
Ms. Bowker,
seconds.
this is public question time. It's not a debate. Do you have a third question?
So my third question is, the current standard is you get 3 seconds of the green flashing icon to cross an intersection. This intersection would be 4 lanes wide. That is not sufficient time to safely cross the road.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond about the 3 seconds.
Through the chair, the detailed design has not been undertaken on this intersection, so I'm not sure where you have which intersection you're comparing it to.
That's the main. So the main road standard is 3 seconds.
As I mentioned earlier, it's in the consultation phase. Put those submissions in, and we'll consider that as part of the consultation process. And if the project proceeds, it will be considered as part of the design.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Sorry, do you mind just putting the microphone on?
Oh. Do I need it?
Yes, it's being live streamed, so we need to have the microphone.
It's just a general question about the speed humps, bumps in the section of Morley Charnwood, Houghton, Wheeler, just between Helverson Road and Walter Road. I notice half of them don't have the painted signs advising, and someone's put witches' hats. I just wondered, were they designed? Because I can drive over them at a normal speed, so I've just wondered. And also the location, is there a specific scientific method, like at the start as it come around the corner, and then I've got the whole stretch I can speed down?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, so we went through a fairly lengthy process. So initially the locations were nominated by Main Roads through the LCURS program, the Low Cost Urban Road Safety Program.
Yep.
So those locations were nominated by them based on traffic data analysis that they have. We went through 2 separate phases of consultation to engage with the local community, to work out exactly where they think they should go in based on their experiences in the area and what they know. So we went through and prepared designs. That went through council, also went through to Main Roads. They checked it. It's all been designed according to Main Roads standards and have been built in accordance with those standards. Some of them haven't been finished in terms of line marking, and simply because we don't do that. We wait for Main Roads. It's their responsibility to get those markings put on them.
Okay, I just wanted to check because when you have a speed bump at the start and the rest of the street's clear, it sort of defeats the purpose.
Thank you for your question.
That's my logic anyhow.
Are there any other questions? No, I'll close public question time. So we move on to item 7, which is confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover and seconder to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting of the 24th of February 2026? Move Councillor Sutherland, seconded Councillor Latta. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Item 8 is presentations. So we have 2 petitions this evening. Councillor McDonald, do you have a petition to table?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I do. Just around the proposed no stopping restrictions on Georgina Street. So I'm tabling that on behalf of Matthew Stafford.
Do you mind reading it out?
Yes, sure. We, the undersigned residents, property owners, and local community members object to the proposed installation of approximately 216 metres of no stopping restrictions on Georgina Street, as outlined in the City of Bayswater consultation. While we support reasonable and evidence-based road safety measures, we have significant concerns that the scale of the proposed restrictions is disproportionate and may create unintended safety, access, and amenity impacts for residents. They have some key concerns, which include the removal of substantial amount of on-street parking, the likely transfer of parking pressure to nearby streets, particularly Walton Street and King William. Walton Street is narrower than Georgina Street and already experiences higher volumes of traffic. Existing on-street parking along Georgina Street provides a natural traffic calming effect. They list that it's unclear whether the proposed extent of restrictions has been supported by collision history, and they respectfully request that the City of Bayswater pause implementation of the proposed restrictions pending further review and community consultation, and provide the supporting evidence assessment used to determine the proposed extent of the restrictions and reassess the proposal.
Thank you. And how many signatures?
There's 12.
Thank you. You're moving acceptance of the petition. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Black. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So we'll get that, please. Yes. Councillor Sutherland, you have a petition in relation to item 10.4.1, which is on the agenda for consideration tonight.
Yes, it's an objection to application Pedal Courts, lot 175 McGilvray Avenue, Naranda. There's 36 signatures, and basically there are serious concerns for residents on Wild Road and surrounding properties, and the main issues here are increased traffic, parking, safety risk for pedestrian and noise. The report states that up to 254 extra vehicles per day will use Wild Road, with additional parking of 48 vehicles at any one time. During busy times, more than 225 vehicles are parked in the area, up to 5 times per week. There are only 103 street bays on Wild Road and 57 near the Oval. This already leaves about 65 cars parking outside these bays or on verges. Child safety is a serious concern. Children often have to walk between parked cars, creating dangerous situations. Wild Road is not wide enough to safely handle the current traffic, especially with large vehicles like SUVs and cars with bike racks parked in small bays. The traffic study was only done over 3 days during quiet times, so it does not reflect normal conditions. Verge damage is also ongoing due to vehicle driving over them. The other 3 issues are to do with noise. The noise limits mentioned does not reflect the real impact. The noise is sharp, repetitive and similar to a gun range. Social, after observing activities at Osaka Paddle, it is clear the sport can involve some aggressive behaviour, verbal and physical aggression between players. And summary of report, this report was poorly prepared with multiple, I won't go through that, but it was poorly prepared, and the last issue is toilets, because the Morley Club is not open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m, raising concerns about the lack of toilet facilities for players. Okay, and as I said, it's got 36 signatures.
Thank you. And you're moving that. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Ostrzowski. Sorry. All those in favour? That is Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Ostrzowski, Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Black, Councillor McDonald and myself. And all those against accepting the petition is Councillor Pittaway. Petition is tabled. Okay, there are no presentations this evening and deputations were heard at last week's agenda briefing forum. Delegates report, we have one this evening. So item 8.4.1, Councillor Pittaway, Walga training. Would you like to move this item, Councillor Pittaway?
Thank you, Madam Member. Yeah, I would like to move this item.
Do I have a
Thank you.
seconder? Councillor Latta, Councillor Pittaway. Do you wish to talk to it at all?
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. Oh, only that obviously I've just completed 2 of the 5 that are scheduled. So, yeah, there's one that's a 2-day course, which I have to take time out of my work schedule to do, and the other 2 are online. But yeah, we'll have them completed within that 12 months
Thank you.
required. Thank you.
Councillor Latta, anything? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. So item 9 is method of dealing with agenda business. Councillor Ostrzowski is pulling first this evening. However, before I go to Councillor Ostrzowski, I'd like to pull item 10.1.3, which is motions from the 24-25 AGM of electors, as we have received a number of alternatives and amendments from elected members in relation to this item. So I will explain the process once we get to it. So Councillor Ostrzowski, anything else?
Yes, I'd only like to pull 10.2.4 rate exemption for 123 Broome Ave, Morley, and I'm just pulling it to vote against.
Thank you. Councillor Loiacono. Councillor McDonald. Councillor Black. Deputy Mayor.
10.1.2, Code of Conduct Complaint Management Policy. And that's it.
Councillor Latta.
10.1.5, I just have a couple of questions about it.
Councillor Sutherland.
Did anybody pull 10.4.1? Well, we'll have to do that anyway.
It's subject to a deputation, but would you like to pull it?
Yeah.
10.4.1, which is the paddle. You'd like to pull that one? Yeah. Councillor Pittaway? Okay. I have one I'd like to pull is 10.1.4, submission to Walga electoral reform. Okay, so councillors, we'll now move to consideration of reports in section 10. Can I please have a mover and seconder to bring forward items 10.1.3, 10.3.1, 10.4.1, which were subject to deputations. Councillor Latta moved, Councillor Black seconded. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so councillors, for this item, the first one being 10.1.3, motions from the 24-25 AGM of electors. For this item, I'll be asking you to vote separately on motions for which we have received proposed alternative, and also on the motion for which Councillor Latta has a proximity interest declared and will need to leave the room. So we will then, once we've gone through all the alternatives, we will then vote to adopt the officer's recommendation for the remaining items. So we have a few tonight. So the first thing we need to do is get a mover and seconder to note the minutes of the annual general meeting of electors held on Wednesday, the 18th of February 2026 as contained in attachment 1. Moved Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Black. Deputy Mayor, anything? Councillor Black, anything? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so we'll now move to the alternate motions for this item. And Councillor Osazowski, you are moving your motion in the run sheet, as provided in the run sheet, for motion 2. Are you moving that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so councillors, you've all been provided with copies of the alternative, but we do have it on the screen for you to refer to. So Councillor Osazowski is moving. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Black. Councillor Osazowski.
Thank you. The dog park at Riverside Gardens, the exercise area there, is located around about 80 metres away from a major parking area. And in that parking area, there is some accessible parking in that space. To get from that space to the dog exercise area, there are some paths that you do need to take, and that area is an off-lead area. Now, I do use this area myself, and I was invited by some other users of that space to meet with them to understand why they feel as though there should be disabled parking next to the dog exercise area. And I absolutely understand the rationale for putting disabled parking right next to that dog exercise area. In particular, when I saw one of the people who had accessibility challenges trying to get from the car park to that area being run over by dogs that weren't on leads and people who didn't have their dogs under control. So I completely understand the need for some disabled or accessible parking right next to that dog exercise area. And I feel also, or I recall also from our annual electors meeting that the director had mentioned that we perhaps should have put disabled parking in that space anyway. So the director has suggested that $20,000 would be sufficient to put some bays in that space, and I'm hoping that we can get some accessible bays right next to that dog exercise area.
Thank you very much. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very happy to second this motion brought on by Councillor Osazowski. Increasing disabled parking access, especially for our city facilities, is very important. I think that it's a good motion and I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Deputy Mayor.
Firstly, a question for you, Madam Mayor. To the officers, how many parking bays can be added with 20 Ks?
Thank you for your question, and I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, 20,000 will probably cover 2 disabled bays.
2?
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to support this. I'm also aware of the issues that some of our residents are experiencing. I heard about, I don't know if it's the same people, Councillor Osazowski, that you were referring to, but all the people that feel very, there is a risk when they are trying to access the exercise area and when some dogs running towards them. So I heard the stories as well. So I'm happy that we are progressing with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll go to Councillor Osazowski to close. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried. Just your microphone has been on. Councillor Osazowski, you've also submitted an alternative for motion 3. Will you be moving that alternative?
Yes.
Okay. Councillors, it's on the screen and you've been provided with it. Is there a seconder? Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Osazowski.
Thank you. For several years now, ratepayers and residents around Newington Reserve have been reporting to me that there has been an issue in regards to debris on the roads around Newington Reserve, and in particular around Fleming Close and Bell Court, tree branches, tree litter, honky nuts, etc., etc. And the city hasn't been keeping up with cleaning those roads. So it did create, or it does create, safety issues for pedestrians. There are no footpaths in that area at all, so pedestrians are using those roads there. It creates safety hazards for cyclists using those roads there. So the residents in that area have asked for the city to attend to those trees to remove them, or to basically cut them back to stop from hanging over the road, so the debris no longer falls onto the road and falls into the park space instead. So the residents have basically asked, let's prune the trees, and then the city can increase service levels elsewhere in the city where we need to do some, cleaning up, instead of always coming back to this spot to clean up. Now, the city has only just in the last probably month or 2 months increased the service level in this space, and I think it was in response to this motion coming to council, or knowing that this motion was going to be coming to the AGM. But I just think, why would we keep coming back to the same spot over and over and over again to continue to clean up debris when we could just solve the problem and move on? So I'm hoping that we can get these trees pruned back to the wooden pole boundary in the park, or at a minimum to the curb line, to stop this debris falling on the road altogether, or once and for all, to increase the safety for the pedestrians and cyclists in that area, and so that the city can allocate those services where they are needed elsewhere in the city.
Thank you, Councillor Loiacono.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to support this because there is safety issues here, and I think that doing something once and properly is going to enable the city to use their resources elsewhere and actually bring back this area to a manageable scenario. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Latta.
I just want to ask a couple of questions. Firstly, what is the cadastral boundary of the reserve, please?
Thank you. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, it's just the actual boundary of the reserve. So where the timber bollards are, they're normally placed on the actual boundary of the reserve, and the rest of the verge is basically part of the road. So the section between the bollards and the curb, that's actually road reserve.
Do you know, if I can ask, what the approximate distance from the curb that is?
I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, I wouldn't know off the top of my head, but it's probably something like 4 to 5 metres, potentially. 4 metres, maybe.
Okay, so are the trees being trimmed like 4 or 5 metres back? Sorry, it's just a bit difficult to understand the thing without information about
I'll go to the Director to respond.
So through the chair, so as I understand it, is the request is to prune the trees as close to the boundary, to that cadastral boundary, which is where the bollards are. If it cannot be achieved to that extent, that at least needs to go, for the trees aren't to go anywhere beyond the curb line, so they're hanging over the road. So it needs to be somewhere along that verge space. It needs to be brought back, and ideally, under the recommendation, is to bring it as close as possible to that cadastral boundary of the reserve.
Can I also ask what advice the city will receive about how to prune the trees? Is an arborist going to be consulted about it?
I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, we do have arborists at the city. We do prune trees to Australian standards, so that will come into consideration when the trees are pruned.
And does the city consider this a safety hazard?
I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, we do sweep the road, and I know we're sweeping the road at a higher frequency than most other roads in the city because of the honky nuts that are dropped onto the road and some of the sticks that go onto the road. It does occur naturally in lots of areas, but it can be a slip hazard or a trip hazard for pedestrians if it's on a hard surface.
And did I hear correctly that there's no footpath on that bit? So pedestrians are walking on the reserve? Like, is it dirt or grass? Do we know?
I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, there is no footpath there at the moment, so it is on the verge. I'm trying to think what the condition of the verge is. It's probably most likely grass. If they're not walking on that verge, they'll be walking on the road.
That's it. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Black?
Madam Mayor, just a question,
Yeah.
if I may, and only because it relates to motion 7, which refers to the footpath for Newington Reserve. I guess my question would be, if I may, because it may help with my decision making with this one, that footpath refers to the internal perimeter of Newington Reserve. Is that within the cadastral boundary, or is that referring to the street curb boundary?
I'll go to so Director, if there was a footpath constructed around the reserve, would it be within the cadastral boundary or between the curbing and the bollards?
Good question. It just depends on what the design is. It can be inside the park, it can be on the outside. In most cases, we'll probably choose a location where we're not interfering with tree roots and not causing any problems to the trees. So it could actually meander in and out of that reserve, potentially.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will indicate I'll be against the motion and like to foreshadow the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question, where there are significant trees growing on the street side of the wooden fence on the verge, will those be pruned? Will those be removed altogether?
Thank you. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, so if there's trees on the verge side, I don't believe you can prune them back to the point where we're trying to get them as close to the bollards because it's physically not possible, and it's highly likely that it will be difficult to prune the trees back to the curb line if they're situated on the verge, simply because of the canopy spread of the tree. It would probably be detrimental to the tree if we cut the trees that hard.
Sorry, just to follow up. So there's two really large, significant ones that are definitely between on the outside of the fence line. So will those ones be removed? Sorry, just to ask again. Are they going to be completely removed, or since we can't prune them back, or are we going to leave those ones?
I don't believe the motion talks about removing any trees, but I'll go to the Director to confirm that.
Through the chair, we wouldn't remove trees, no.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I understand some of the concerns that we had at the AGM with electors, but I'm not in a position to support this at this stage. The officer's report says very clearly that those trees were already trimmed just several months ago in November 2025. And it also states that further pruning may negatively impact the aesthetic of natural form and compromise other limbs within the canopy, and it does not fit with our policy. I'm also mindful that we are introducing now a contract for a new service to clean the road, which I think should happen. I prefer to invest the money into ensuring that the road is cleaned very frequently whilst we protect and maintain the tree canopy that we do have in the city and we are losing for all the reasons that we know. So until I hear how that service is operating, and perhaps that actually solves the problem, I'm not in a position to remove that canopy and the shade. You can see the shade on that verge and on the road, and people can walk around the trees. It's a giant reserve, and there is a way for people who do not want to walk under the trees, which you can understand that they can actually walk around the trees. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Ladder?
Yeah, I will just concur with the Deputy Mayor on that. My concern is that where this alternative floats like two different solutions, and I think that we should try the less invasive solution that preserves canopy and shade and see how that service goes, but I would be willing to look at it again in the future.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Thank you. Just to address a few of the issues that have been raised, In regards to being able to walk around the trees, most of the impacted area is at the intersection of Bell Court and Fleming Close. And as I've mentioned, there are no footpaths on any of those roads around that area whatsoever. So anyone who's using Bell Close to come towards Newington Reserve or using Fleming Close to come to Newington Reserve, they have no option other than to walk on the road. In regards to that verge space along Fleming Close there, it's a mix of dead grass, nuts, branches, you know what grass gets like when it has all of the debris in it. It's not a stable, a good surface for walking on. In regards to pruning the trees to the cadastral boundary, that doesn't have to happen. This motion, I think, asks for a compromise between the street verge to the cadastral boundary, and obviously the amount that you would prune back would depend on where those trees are at in terms of their location with the cadastral boundary. There are no trees on that verge space there at all. It is purely just grass. All of the trees are behind the cadastral boundary. So this motion tries to ask for council to let the city prune it somewhere within those couple of metres between the street verge to that cadastral boundary to take away that safety hazard off Bell Court, off Fleming Close, and so that we can refocus our services elsewhere.
Thank you. I'll now put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Ostrowski, Councillor Pittaway, Councillor Sutherland, Councillor McDonald and myself. All those against? Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Black. That motion is carried. Councillor Ostrowski, will you be moving your proposed alternative for motion 4?
Yes.
Do I have, well, councillors, you've all been provided with it and it's on the screen for reference. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Ostrowski.
Thank you. For multiple years now, I've been meeting with residents and ratepayers who live around Ellen Hill Park, and for those years, they've been expressing concern that the city has been putting no investment into that space whatsoever. Some of the issues that those residents have raised are listed in this motion. Number one, they would really appreciate a pathway that goes from Hertz Way through to Beachborough Road, going through the park there. There is a bus stop on Beachborough Road there that is used a lot, and people have to trek through that park there. Now that park doesn't have a pathway, and that park is filled with trees, and there's again the ground is covered in tree matter, so there's actually no stable walkway for people to be able to walk safely through that park. In terms of lighting, that park does have some safety and security issues, and we have raised it with the city on numerous occasions regarding the illegal activities that happen in that park. It is a very dark park at night time, and so to complement the footpath that we would love to see put through that park, we'd love to get some lighting along that pathway as well, which will add light to add to the security in that park, but also allows people to use that footpath at night time to connect across the park. In terms of the CCTV, the ratepayers there were asking for CCTV to be installed. We do have a CCTV strategy, and CCTV can be looked at in the future. But I think for now, if we can get a pathway through that park connecting these streets through to the transport hub on Beachborough Road, gives people an accessible way of getting through the park, but also actually allows people to access easily the gazebo that's there and also the play space that is there, which currently are not connected in any way. It'll be good to get that path in. So I'm hoping that these ratepayers who've been asking for some action in this park for numerous years, and it's not just one ratepayer or two ratepayers. This is probably 20 ratepayers, 30 ratepayers, and each time we have regular catch-ups, many people come along to these meetings. So this is absolutely something that many of these ratepayers would love to see happening in this space.
Thank you. Councillor Loiacono.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is a practical and long overdue motion. For many years, the community has been asking for safe and accessible connection through Allen Hill Park. particularly to access public transport and existing park facilities. This motion responds directly to that need. Providing a footpath is simple but an important piece of infrastructure. It improves accessibility, supports walkability, and makes the park more usable for members of the community. Importantly, I think the inclusion of solar lighting is sensible and a sustainable solution. It will dramatically improve safety, increase visibility, and help deter antisocial behaviour in what is currently a very dark area at night. I really do believe that this is about getting the basics right: safe access, safe movement, and a park that people can use with confidence. I also agree that the motion also appropriately acknowledges that CCTV should continue to be guided by evidence and the city's broader strategy. Ultimately, this is about responding to the community, delivering practical improvements and doing so in a timely way. I support this.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against?
Madam Mayor,
Councillor Black?
I just have some questions, if
Go
that's
ahead.
okay. Just in regards to the footpath and I guess without detailed design being done, does the city have an envisionment of where the footpath may go through the middle of the park, just to get an idea of where the footpath would be located, just for accessibility reasons?
Thank you. I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, so we don't have a design at this point in time. We know what the length would be and the type of path it would be, so that's how we've come up with the figures. But in terms of the actual location, we will aim to connect as many components of the park together, so the playground, shelter, bus stop. So the idea is to provide that connectivity through there. The exact location and what the path looks like on the ground will be something that we'd work out and probably engage with the community out there to make sure that everyone's comfortable with what the city proposes.
And just another question, Madam Mayor. The alternate motion refers to solar lighting. Just note that there's a lot of tree canopy coverage in that park. And just my question is, would solar lighting be an appropriate lighting choice for this park?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, so ideally we'd like to put solar lighting in. Yes, so shade would be an issue for solar lighting, but we can come up with different options where you could put the actual solar panels in one location and then feed it through to the other lights through the park. So there are ways around that, and that's something that will be considered as part of the design.
Did you wish to speak to it?
Yes, please. Yeah, I'd like to speak for the
Go
motion.
ahead.
I think this is a good plan. I think that having access to the bus station in particular, or the bus stop in particular, for those who do have accessibility or cannot walk across grass is important. Rudimentary measurements on my Google Maps shows that it's a 350 metre deviation for those living in the cul-de-sacs to access the bus station if that path was not there. I think that it is needed, especially if we want to promote public transport use and reduction of use of cars on our streets. I'm obviously want to see what the lighting looks like, and I'm not too sure about the solar, but I'm interested to see what the city does come up with there. And I'm also interested to see the CCTV installation as well. I think assessing it as low risk, but being part of the strategy for potential inclusion, I think is a good move. So I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Latta?
Thank you. I really like Limb 1. I think it's excellent. I have a little concern around Limb 2, and I want to suggest, propose an amendment, if I can. I'll explain the concern first, just that it doesn't list a dollar amount, and I am uncomfortable with such a strongly worded limb that is open in that way, and I wonder if the mover and seconder would consider changing provides to consider.
I'm fine with that.
Seconder? Yep. So for purposes of the minutes, the amendment will form part of this, part of this alternative motion, and at Limb 2 will now begin with considers funding rather than provides funding.
Great. I'm very happy to support this with that change. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sutherland?
Yeah, look, I just wanted to make the comment that this motion is good. Well, I think it's good. And just to let people know in the chamber that Strutway did one of these similar, I think last year or the year before, and it's really made a difference to the people in that area using that path, especially for disabled and elderly people that can't walk on the lawn, the grass as much. And yeah, I'm happy with consider to funding the solar lighting. I think we need more and more of this lighting at night when we're trying to get more people out of cars and walking at night, because I do a lot of walking at night, but at least I've got a lot of street lights. So I think it's a good motion.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll go the mover to close.
Thank you. And again, just to address a few of the matters that have been raised, solar lighting for me also was a bit of a question mark because there is a lot of canopy there. However, I compare it to a situation where we have a dogleg footpath connecting Chaffers Street through to Devonshire Way. There's a footpath that kind of runs along Tonkin Highway, and in that area there's a lot of tree canopy covering this footpath, and the city has installed solar lighting along there, and that solar lighting works perfectly fine at night time despite all of that canopy coverage. So I'm confident that solar lighting in Allen Hill Park will provide the light and will work appropriately, even though there is a lot of canopy in that space. Location of the footpath, interesting question. There's been discussions about it going right through the middle to connect up the playground and the shelter area to the bus stop. There's also been discussions about having it along the side of the park as well, because the city, when doing some mowing, a lot of the tree debris and honky nuts are hitting people's caravans and house windows and fences and are creating damage. So there was also an opportunity to perhaps put a footpath down the side and then plant out the space between the footpath and the fence so that we're no longer mowing and sending debris into people's property. So there are some options there, and as the director mentioned, we can consult with the community on what they believe will be the best outcome there. I just want to take one final opportunity to thank the city for the work that they have been doing with the residents around Allen Hill Park. The city has been attentive to those residents' needs, and they have been trying to assist the residents, and they have been trying to show the residents with small works such as plantings, tree pruning, tree planting, irrigation repairs, etc., etc. The city has been showing an interest in this space, so thank you to the city also for your work.
Thank you. I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. We also have an alternative motion from Councillor Ossowski for motion 7. Councillor, will you be moving this?
Yes, thank you.
Councillors, you've all been provided with the wording and it will be on the screen it's on the screen now. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Loiacono. Councillor Ossowski.
Thank you. And Councillor Sutherland, you mentioned Strutway before. There was a footpath which was installed around Strut Reserve before. There was a footpath installed last year around that reserve with solar lighting, and it has increased the activity in that space. And that's exactly the type of thing that people around Fleming Close, Belcourt, Marconi Street, Newington Street, Solus Place, or Solus Way, that they want to see as well, is a footpath that goes around Newington Reserve to allow them to use the park in a much, in a better way, similarly to Strut Reserve there. Residents have been asking for this for numerous years as well, and this year I invited them to come along to the AGM to share their motion and to get it on council table so that council can make the decision on that one there. I'd like to reiterate, there are no footpaths on any of those streets around Newington Reserve. So if the footpath is internal, fantastic. If the footpath is external, fantastic. At least we're getting some form of footpath which can allow for safe and accessible movement around those streets there.
Councillor Loiacono.
Thank you. I strongly support this motion and the proposed improvements to Newington Reserve. This is a well-used and valued community space that caters to a wide range of recreational activities, including walking, exercising and dog use. Enhancing the reserve with a formalised path will significantly improve accessibility, safety and usability for all visitors, including families and those accessing the playground. Planning these works as part of the Forward Capital Works program ensures that they are delivered in a coordinated and financially responsible manner. Overall, this proposal represents a positive investment in community infrastructure and amenity, and I'm pleased to support it.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, not against, just a request for an amendment from the mover and seconder. I understand that the intention that this will be considered as part of the budget, but it starts with the word supports. So I would like to suggest that it will be considers the request for a path as part of the draft Forward Capital Works, along with all the footpaths and the budget, because we don't actually have even costing. So I'm just not comfortable supporting something I don't have the details.
I'll go to the mover and seconder and see if they would be happy changing supports to considers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Am I allowed to comment on this here or not? Because
No, because we're not going to debate.
Sure.
It's whether you accept it or you don't. And if you don't accept it, then we have the opportunity to go to debate.
I'm happy to accept that so we can get it onto the table at that budget time. Thanks.
And the seconder? Okay. So the Lim 1 will commence with the word considers, not supports. So we'll get that updated on the screen. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak to it?
Just quickly, thank you for the move and second there. I think that's the right approach. We will look at all the footpaths that are proposed, including this one. I am keen to see what it means, and in accordance with our new path program. And otherwise, I'm happy to support the motion. Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll go to the mover to close.
Thank you. I do want to make a comment on the supports, the footpath versus considers. I think we can support something to happen, and we can then consider it later. So, council can make a decision to support a footpath, and then we can decide on that later, but I'm happy to make that change so at least we've got it on the books. It's in 27-28. I realise we're going through a budget process at the moment, and I figured that this footpath will probably need a little bit of work, and it needs to be considered, like the Deputy Mayor said, with our new footpath program guidelines. So, yeah, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So we'll now move on to motion 8, for which Councillor Latta has declared a proximity interest, and she will withdraw from the chamber. So is there a mover and seconder to adopt the officer's recommendation for motion 8 as contained in attachment 2? Moving Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Black.
Sorry, I do want to move it, but with just a small addition, please.
Yes? Which is?
Yes, so it says, so we don't have it on the screen.
Did you provide it?
No, I just literally now notice what is proposed here. So what I'm asking that it says supports the request for a cycle path, and I would like to add after the words cycle path, these words, or are the improvements to support cycling?
I'll just check with the seconder. You're happy to continue seconding. So, or other improvements to support cycling along 8th Avenue to support. So, they're just getting at that up. Would you like to speak to it?
Yes, please. Yes. Look, I'll be quick. I fully support this and fully support cycle paths. I think that's the first priority. If we can add them from infrastructure perspective and impact on properties and funding. So I thought it was just too preliminary to commit now in a motion before we actually looked at what it means. Some of those streets can be a bit narrow. So we should look, but if we can add a cycle path, and I wish we can, I hope so, then that will be hopefully the priority. So many residents have been asking for some cycling infrastructure along those streets, and when we approved the LTCN several days ago, I proposed that 8th Avenue and East Street and also Caledonian Avenue, the hierarchy in the LTCN will be changed to a second hierarchy instead of the originally proposed lowest one. So it matches what I tried to achieve several years ago. And hopefully the state government will also help us to fund those cycling infrastructure, even though it will not connect to a new Metronet station. I know I had discussions with some PTA and Department of Transport people and the city. I understand that the state government prioritizes Metronet for whatever reason it is, but we do want to connect also other stations that are already established, like Maylands, Meltham, but even Bayswater, they're not considering as Metronet from what I understand. So I hope that we will get those external funding that are needed to look at all those connections for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to second this motion. Anything to get more people onto bikes in our suburbs is great, especially off the Maylands train station and into the Maylands town precinct. I'd like to thank the residents who moved, seconded and supported the motion as well. I think it's a great way to raise attention to this issue as well. And I believe the Deputy Mayor made some excellent comments in regards to getting more people onto bikes as well. So I'm happy to support this.
Deputy Mayor, the minute taker just wants to check, it's supports the request for a cycle path or other improvements. Is it or and?
Or,
Or.
but if you can please add, sorry, or other infrastructure improvements. Sorry, just to add if the second, yes, infrastructure improvements, that's the intention. Thank you.
So we'll just get that up on the screen. Okay. Deputy Mayor, I have a question. Well, I guess I'm going to suggest an amendment. And the amendment is exactly what you moved in the previous motion. So the previous motion had supports. You said you want to change it to considers. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. It's to be considered as part of the draft forward capital works program. So based on your reasoning for the last motion to change it to considers, I'd like to move that. I'll check with her. Okay, that's all. So if we can just change supports to considers. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll just put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. The minute taker, you just need to change that to considers. Yes. Okay. Councillor Latta, for your information, there was a slight amendment to the officer recommendation as on the screen, and it was supported unanimously. Okay, so we now move on to the next alternative motion for motion 11. Councillor Black, would you like to move that?
I'd like to move my alternate motion, yes. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor McDonald, Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to move this alternative motion, which largely reflects what was moved and passed at the recent AGM of electors. I want to thank those at the AGM who moved, seconded and voted on this motion. The retention of trees in the City of Bayswater is an important issue to our residents and ratepayers. And while the City is making great progress on our urban forest implementation plan, it is combated against the unfortunate loss of trees on private property, which we did hear about in response to a question earlier tonight. The WALGA model local planning policy for tree retention provides a model way for local governments, such as ourselves, to further protect those trees and mitigate these losses. It provides a clear definition of a regulated tree and clarifies when a development application is required for tree damaging activity. It prioritises the retention, protection and the provision of trees on private land and adjacent reserves in the planning process. It promotes and facilitates tree preservation at the earliest possible stage in the planning and development process, balancing with the desired built form and land use outcomes. It preserves and enhances neighbourhood amenity, character and sense of place. And more broadly, it mitigates the urban heat island effect, reduces air pollution, improves groundwater quality, and contributes to biodiversity and other environmental benefits. This model policy applies to regulated trees, which are defined under the following characteristics: 8 metres or more high, or has an average canopy diameter of at least 6 metres, or has a trunk circumference of at least 1.5 metres, measured 1.4 metres above the ground, and is not listed on the state or local area weed register. The model policy puts in place a general presumption against tree damaging activity to a regulated tree, but it does not prevent a landowner from removing a regulated tree under any circumstance. Regulated trees may be removed if it could be demonstrated that it is unhealthy based on an arborist report, it causes safety risks to people, infrastructure or buildings based on an arborist report and or a structural engineering report, or the redesign of a development to accommodate the regulated tree is unfeasible. These exceptions make sense and provide a pathway for property owners to pursue removal if they so wish. The decision in Zorzi v Town of Cambridge, or WA SAT 77, it reiterated that the clearing of trees and vegetation can constitute development. As the decision stated, the fact that the clearing of trees and vegetation can constitute development is well established in case law. According to Lavan Legal, this would appear to be the first time that a court or tribunal in Western Australia has held that the removal of a single tree in an urban context constitutes development and therefore requires development approval. In addition to these findings by SAT, the State Administrative Tribunal, we have a model policy to work from through the Walga Tree Retention Policy, and we can join the 8 local governments that have taken steps to prevent tree loss on private property. As I said previously, the city, under the strategic direction of the council and the leadership of the executive, has done great work in implementing the Urban Forest Plan. But I believe that we need to bolster these efforts and not let our efforts in this area be hindered by what occurs on private land. I remember sitting in the public gallery last year when I was another councillor when a decision was made to amend our tree canopy targets from 2030 to 2035. It was a tough decision to make for council and a tough decision as a resident to witness. Through this motion, I want to make sure we can hit the 2035 targets, and earlier action is better than attempting to rectify closer to our target timeframe. I am well aware that some councillors around the table here have shared their thoughts on this motion in previous times and may wish to reshare those views in respectful debate. And I'm sure that new councillors will have a chance to share their views on this too in respectful debate. Thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to support this motion. 10 other councils, cities have adopted in full in the Perth area with this so far, and as of yet we haven't. This is probably one of the top 3 most frequently raised issues with me by West Ward residents since joining council. And the exception about sensible development and housing not being held up by this policy is probably the most important one for me that allows me to accept it. I'm very happy to support an important motion like this.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Latta.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to support this motion. I previously have voted for the current policy that we have. I thought it was a good compromise at the time. It's not what my heart wants, but I will always support it when this comes up and see if things have changed.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Can I please, Madam Mayor, first ask a question with regards to the policy that Council adopted just last year in August? What's the status? Whether we already received approval from the WAPC?
Thank you. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, haven't received any approval.
And what's happening now with the policy? Is it being assessed?
I'll go to the Director.
Thanks, through you, Madam Mayor. It's with the state government for consent.
Okay, thank you. So look, I will not support this. I have been speaking about this big issue around removal of trees on private property for years, for those councillors who were here all this time. And long before Walga decided to prepare the model policy, I've been speaking about this. It is very important and should be dealt with. Last year, and it's only in August, it wasn't even a year ago, we did adopt a policy to deal with this issue following community consultation process that we undertook that indicated very strongly that residents feel that we should regulate trees on private property when it comes to developers. That was the messages that we received on many of the comments from those who did support it. They thought that that is an issue that is problematic, having developers clearing the land without any consideration whether some of the trees can be retained in a future development or subdivision. And this is what we tried to deal with, but we actually haven't had yet opportunity to see what's the impact, because as we heard, it's still being assessed and there is a process. And I feel it is too premature to now change this process and start a whole new consultation and literally writing a whole new policy without before we assess whether what we adopted in August is workable. What we approved was not perfect. The WELGA model policy is definitely not perfect. And I did share, and I will share it again for those councillors who were not here, just one example that I heard from a resident living in one of the western suburbs, that their council did adopt the policy, the WELGA policy, almost as is. And that resident was so concerned because the council there, the local government, did not allow her to remove a giant fig tree in her backyard, very close to the house, because of the policy. Even though she identified and indicated there are safety concerns for her toddler, climbing all those giant roots, those fig trees that you see in Hyde Park. So that's in her home, in her backyard. And her local government did not allow her to remove the tree, even though it also suffocates the eucalyptus tree next to it. And she told me in a very concerned way, I'm vegan, I care about trees, we planted so many trees, this tree should go. And I felt for her. And if we're adopting the WELGA policy as proposed as is, I'm not in a position at this stage, before we actually assess what the revised policy that we adopted can do, I am not in a position to do this to our residents. I am in favour of what we compromised, and I want to see if we can stop the developers. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for the motion? Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Sosowski?
Question first, please.
Go ahead.
With the status pending of what we approved last year, is that in effect now? So even though we're waiting for the state government to approve what we did last year, what's the situation now in between? Like, can people remove trees still? Can people still cut trees down?
I'll go to the director to respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor, it does depend on the situation. So, for example, if someone wants to do a development on private property, we do have a policy in place that provides guidance where staff follow the policy, where trees are required to be identified, they're required to be retained where possible, and there is a process around getting arborist reports and the like. So there is policy in place, there is processes in place, and staff certainly work with our customers to retain trees wherever possible.
So in regards to what we submitted then, until the state government says tick, it doesn't apply?
I'll go to the director.
Just through the chair, so just to reiterate, we do have policies in place at the moment that we're able to use.
I won't be supporting this motion either. Last year and over many years, we've had many debates and discussions around this, and last year the Deputy Mayor did offer a compromise solution. There are two different camps in the city of Bayswater when it comes to trees. North Ward, Central Ward, and then you've West and South Ward have different opinions. And I was appreciative of the fact that even though I didn't vote for it, that the Deputy Mayor did put through a compromise position last year. So I won't be supporting this motion tonight.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak in support? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll just say a few words. So, here we are again with this policy. But what I would like to bring to everyone's attention again is that when we considered this last year, the city undertook the most extensive consultation I have ever seen undertaken by this city. It was, it wasn't just a little consultation, it was huge consultation. So when we made that decision as a council back in August 2025, we were very well informed of the community's position on this. So what we came up with was a compromise. And that's what you have to do in these situations when there are such differing views in the community. The best outcome is coming up with a compromise. So to try and change that at this point in time is very premature. Some of the points that were considered is when you put in such a prohibitive, policy that, really prohibits people from having any say on their trees in their own property, on private property, the unintended consequence of that is a lot of people that I've spoken to said they'll cut down their trees before it even gets to that point because they don't want to be stifled about what they can do in the future. We have a housing crisis and some people want to put granny flats in their backyard to enable, more housing, and that might require the removal of a tree. And this policy, the WALGA policy that's been considered, can prevent that from happening. So I will always, and I've said this before, and I will say it again because I'm not ashamed of it, I will always support private property owner rights. And this does not do that, so I cannot support this. Anyone wish to speak in support?
Can I
Councillor
just
Latta?
foreshadow the officer's recommendation?
Yeah. Anyone wish to speak against? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to thank all councillors for sharing, and Deputy Mayor and the Mayor for sharing their thoughts on this as well. I do recognise that that's last year we went through a compromise position, and I know that for many years the issue of trees on private land has always come up as an issue in council. I believe that if these things are raised at an AGM, it's always a good time for council to address them and to raise them and to share their thoughts on it as well. So I'd like to thank the respectful debate, acknowledge that we are at a compromise position as well with our current policy going through the state government tick of approval as well. Is it the perfect policy in my mind? No. Is it the compromise policy? Yes. And hopefully through education efforts as well through the community and through our city officers, we can hopefully try to protect and preserve as many trees as possible on private land. Thank you.
Thank you. I now put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Latta, Councillor Black and Councillor McDonald. All those against? Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Osazowski, Councillor Pittaway, Councillor Sutherland, the Deputy Mayor and myself. That is lost. We now go to the foreshadowed officers' recommendation. Can I please get that on the screen? And Councillor Latta, you're moving that. And seconded Deputy Mayor, but we'll just get it on the screen first. So I'll just read it out while we're waiting. The officer's recommendation states that council notes that the WALGA model local planning policy has informed the city's draft tree retention policy and supports the city's continued engagement with the state government on planning reform. Councillor Latta, do you wish to speak to it?
Yeah, I do. Look, so the tree retention policy was a compromise position. And it was interesting timing because the Zorzi case happened just as we were considering it at council. I don't know that it is necessarily the perfect compromise, and I think that there are still things to improve upon, particularly given that the Zorzi case gave a level of protection to trees that was higher, meant that there were trees that would be protected and considered removal would be considered development under the Zorzi case that our policy allows. So actually our policy weakened the existing protection landscape. And so I still think that there are things to improve upon, but I think it's a really good starting point for us to continue that work.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Just three things I wanted to highlight in addition to my previous comments. Firstly, many local governments have considered the Welga policy and the vast majority rejected it, for those who are not aware of it. When we discussed it in August, I also proposed and Council adopted a register. So once the new policy will be implemented, we will have a register where every tree that is saved as part of the new policy will be registered, and that will allow us to review the success of the policy. And that was the whole intention, that we will review it and see if it works, but we need to give it time. The third thing that I wanted to mention is a request for those people in our community that are advocating for trees, and I appreciate their work a lot. I would suggest that they will direct their energy with regards to this issue towards the WPC and the planning minister and get them to actually speed up the process to approve our new policy, because as you heard tonight, we are still waiting since August or September, where I think September the city sent it to them. So we are waiting. So if they can help us to speed up the process, we can actually start seeing if the policy works. Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Deputy Mayor, would you like to move your alternative motion for motion 12?
Yes, thank you.
Can I have a seconder? Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So I guess we will have it on the screen. I don't think it's this one. Yes, this one. I'll just read it quickly for those here in the public gallery and that listening to us. That Council, in relation to motion 12.1, requests the Chief Executive Officer to include a part-time minimum of 0.6 FTE history and heritage officer role through the 2026-2027 business planning process. 2, requests the CEO to accommodate this role within existing FTE establishment and budgeted employee costs. So I'm moving this, and again, a compromise option as I try to bring it to make sure that we are getting here from with a great outcome for the community. We are very lucky in the city of Bayswater to have so much history and heritage in our suburbs. And we are super lucky to have very active groups, Bayswater and Maylands historical groups, that have been investing so much energy for a long time and achieving so much on our behalf. And those people, and I've seen that for many years, I've been a member of the Maylands Peninsula Historical Society for more than 10 years, and I've also participated in some of the activities of the Bayswater Historical Society. They are doing a lot. And they are volunteers, and they are telling us now that at this stage they do need the city to take a more active role to ensure that we are progressing with this topic. And I'm personally concerned what will happen if any of those groups or even both of them will stop operating in the future. That can happen. Those are volunteers. Many of them are in retirement, and they can decide that they want to do other things. And we do have responsibility for our community, and I think many community members appreciate those actions with regard to highlighting the history, the stories, the tourism potential, and keeping records, the archives. We do need to take an active role, and I think this is a great step forward. Many local governments have already have officers dealing with those issues, and I think we are finally doing this. So we will hopefully confirm it in the budget and can go back to the community with good news then. Thank you.
Councillor Latta.
Thank you. I found all the deputations last week to be really interesting. They had so many different ideas about what this role could be, what it could mean for the city, and I thought it was quite inspiring, and it made me think about what kind of possibilities for collaboration across different areas of work that the city does, from having an officer like this internal to the city. I think things like a history festival, talking about the fact that in some areas of the city of Bayswater, there's been less information gathered and less kind of engagement with the history of those areas. And I think that this provides a really good opportunity for us to form a more complete understanding of the history of the city of Bayswater, particularly with suburbs other than Bayswater and Maylands, where obviously that work has been quite intensive. And yeah, I'm happy with this compromise, and I think that we can also have more discussions in business planning around how this works and what it looks like.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm really pleased to see this alternate motion moved. Heritage was identified in our council plan as a priority as part of the business and should be planned for accordingly in our business planning for 25-26. There's a lot of opportunity there I think we could really grasp onto with having a heritage and history officer within the city. I think there's some good examples out there where the city could look to as models as well, and that does include the City of Belmont, where I understand they have integrated it quite well in there. In addition, I think there are some great opportunities to work with the societies as well, where the proposed history and heritage officer role could work with them and work where the city could integrate some of those assets and history that they have gained into our own organisation as well. I'm really pleased to see this supported, hopefully supported by council, and hopefully really put history and heritage on the agenda from our council plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Pittaway or Councillor Sutherland?
No, I just want to make some comments from the deputations last week about Belmont and Stirling, and some of those ideas. I just want people to be realised that Belmont's got more money than people. They've got a lot of money because they've got the airport, and Stirling's just huge. We're a smaller council. I don't mind. I'm presuming that this is going to happen when somebody leaves and then they employ somebody else who will have that historical background, obviously, a heritage officer. And just, for about 5 or 6 years or even more, I've been thinking Maylands was one of the first airports, and there's a lot of history down there. I wanted to have a model plane in the roof of the rise. That went nowhere, obviously, for some reason, but we couldn't make a model. So these are the sort of things that it would be good to do, to look at. I'm really torn. I really think this is important, but I'm really concerned we don't have a big budget. But and coming here for AGM and requesting an officer, the staff might have other roles needed, is always a big thing for me to worry about, or something for me to worry about. So at this stage, I'm not sure, but I do think it's a good idea. And Maylands, I know Noranda, I knew the first guy that bought some homes there, or started to develop that now years ago, and there was a lot of history there as well, and even working with the Lightning Swamp people, looking at the Indigenous history of Lightning Swamp. I do a lot of that at work and at school, and there's a lot of stuff there that can be used. So at this stage, I'm still in two minds, but it's a good thing to think about.
Thank you. Yep, go ahead, Councillor Pittaway.
Speaking for.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I applaud the Deputy Mayor on this amended motion. I think it's smart. I think, as we know, history is all around us, and I think it's important that we capture that. I've been very privileged in my life. To give you some background, my wife is from Belgium, and her great-great-great-grandfather was part of a guild in Bruges, and that actual guild, archery guild, funny enough, actually helped on the restoration of the English monarchy. So funny enough, and most English people wouldn't even know that. But so history is very important. I've seen scrolls from 1492, and we're all a part of history. We're all of a history. And one day they might speak against, speak nicely about us, and sometimes they might not. But we're all part of history, and I think it's very important for the city to develop this, and I think it's a step in the right direction from where it was. It didn't have that focus and the lens that we probably needed to have on it. And I thank the deputies who came last week, because there wasn't one, there was several. So there's a lot of sentiment in the community that this is important. And I concur with the Deputy Mayor that, you know, my fear is the loss of information that we stand to lose if we don't start to engage with the wonderful community groups that we do have out there now doing this on a voluntary basis. So, yeah, I commend the motion. I'll be voting for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone want to speak against? Anyone want to speak for? Councillor Loiacono?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do support this motion. I think it's a meaningful step forward to strengthening the city's commitment to preserving and promoting its rich local history and heritage. This role, to me, would enhance the city's ability to manage heritage matters strategically, improve engagement with the community, and ensure that our local history is appropriately documented and celebrated. Importantly, this position would also provide much-needed support to our wonderful volunteers and local historical groups who play a vital role in preserving our shared heritage. I think strengthening this partnership will deliver broader community benefits and help ensure the sustainability of these valuable contributions. Overall, I think this is a practical and forward-looking initiative, and I'm pleased to support it.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll say a few words. So I'll be supporting this motion. Firstly, I just want to acknowledge the efforts by both the Bayswater Historical Society and the Maylands Historical Society. I don't know how we'll get somebody to do a better job than what those groups do, but it's good to have a position to support those groups and to preserve our history. I've lived in the city of Bayswater my entire life, which is a very long time, and I've been on council for over 8 years now. And even though I know a lot, I know there's a lot that I don't know. And I'm really interested to learn more about our history. I think it's really fascinating to learn how we got to where we are today. And I think that this is a step in ensuring that that knowledge is shared for future generations. And I'll just address Councillor Sutherland's concerns about the financial implications of this. Is that the motion is that it will be considered through the business planning process. So I'm very comfortable in supporting this. So I'll go to the Deputy Mayor to close. Nothing. I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Councillor Loiacono, you have submitted an alternative for motion 13. Would you like to move that? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ossowski, Councillor Loiacono.
Sorry, bear with me. Sorry. Just lost my words. Okay, anyway, I don't have my prepared speech, but I am really excited to present my alternative motion tonight in relation to the signage at Constantino Park. I appreciate that the officers have said that it is a pocket park, but I think that's why it's super important to have signage there. I also want to acknowledge the deep history that the Constantino family have made to our city, and I think that on the most basic level, we can accommodate to put a sign up, with noting that if we can't deliver it within budgets this financial year, that the Constantino family are happy to contribute to the installation of that sign.
Councillor Ossowski.
Thank you. While the report does note that this reserve is classified as a pocket park under the city's parks and place-based classification hierarchy, there are a number of reasons to support the installation of a sign in this instance. The Cosentino family has a long and significant history and association with the area, and the reserve itself bears their name in recognition of that contribution. Allowing a modest sign designed in the style of the city's previous green and yellow branding would provide an appropriate acknowledgement of this heritage. Concerns regarding access, visibility, or visual prominence can be effectively managed through careful placement. A small unobtrusive sign can be located in a position that does not interfere with pedestrian movement, park function, or lines of sight. Additionally, the city has previously supported unique installations at other sites, such as the wind phone at Clawton Reserve and various memorial chairs across the city. These examples demonstrate that council has the ability and precedent to consider individual circumstances where a modest, site-appropriate feature delivers community or heritage value. In this context, permitting a small commemorative sign at Cosentino Reserve represents a reasonable and respectful exception that aligns with the spirit of council's recognition of community history, whilst maintaining the practical intent of the park classification framework.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Latta.
Thank you. I just want to say that I have seen this reserve and it really looks like private property. So I think that a sign is prudent so that people know that it is a reserve that they are allowed to go onto and use. I think it's a really simple way to do that.
Thank you. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just two quick questions for the administration, if you don't mind. One is just the officer's comment refers to access issues and prominence. Is that just in relation to the actual placement of the sign blocking the entranceway in some way? Just want to confirm.
I'll go to the CEO to respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the response to that question, Councillor Black, is that it's minimal access way. It's not your normal 15, 20 or a park size. It's probably about 4 to 5 metres. So we'll have to put it in a strategic location so that it doesn't impede the access into that pocket park there.
And just another question, just because it's not referred to in the report or in the alternative motion, just refers to, I guess, an estimated cost of the sign.
I'll go to the CEO.
So through you, Madam Mayor, we anticipate that that would be around about $1,000.
Okay. I'm very happy to support this motion. I'm sure we can work through some of those issues in regards to access and having it in a strategic prominent location. I think given, if I recall correctly, hearing from the AGM motion, the mover raised, or Mr. Cosentino raised, that the land was actually donated to the City of Bayswater, if I remember correctly. Thank you, I've got nods over there. So I think a sign in recognition of the reserve and making sure it's more prominent for those who realise that it's not private property, is actually a reserve owned by the City of Bayswater, I think is a good move.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, look, I'll be quick. I'll support this. I also would like to acknowledge the family. They take, from what I understand, a lot of pride in this specific park. They maintain it. They look after the trees. And I think the sign will also allow other neighbours to feel even more comfortable to actually go and use it, which is what, the family's intentions. So very happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll say a few words that I think it's really timely. This motion has come after the last motion. We're just talking about the history and the heritage of the City of Bayswater, and this sign acknowledges exactly that. And you'd think it's something that this is the type of stuff a history and heritage officer would actually look at implementing across the city. So I think it just makes sense of where we're going. So I'll go the mover to close.
Thank you. I just want to add that, It just addresses wayfinding, it acknowledges local history, and it does so without placing unnecessary pressure on the budget. But for me, it importantly recognises a family that has contributed to the fabric of the city of Bayswater.
I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so I have an alternative motion in relation to motion 14, the renaming of Breen Avenue. Can I please ask the minute taker to display the motion on the screen? And can I have a seconder? Councillor Sutherland. So councillors, this is the second time that this motion was moved at the city's AGM. It was initially moved about 3 years ago, I think. And 3 years ago, I supported the officer's recommendation not to progress with this idea. However, it's come back a second time and I have a different view on it. I think what we heard from the deputy last week really resonated with me in terms of approaching an idea with a how can we do it attitude rather than a it's too hard attitude. So I do agree with the comments made during the deputation that there could potentially be quite a wide-ranging amount of benefits to doing this. We now have an economic development strategy, which I think this does fit nicely under, and that is the reason why I have asked for it to be considered during our business planning process as a potential action to implement as part of our economic development strategy. So I would like, I'm moving this to allow officers to look into it further, and it would obviously be a very long process, but I think it should get underway rather than just a no without actually considering it properly. Councillor Sutherland?
No, that's pretty much what I was going to say.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Latta?
Can I just ask some questions? I would like to understand what the process would be following this motion. Like you said, it would be considered as part of the business planning. So would there be further steps that council would have an opportunity to sign off on or not? Or like I want to understand what exactly this commits us to.
I'll go to the CEO.
Yes, so through you, Madam Mayor, there's a process that we would have to go through in terms of changing names of roads, and council has received those in previous reports. So part of that is going through to the relevant departments and then once getting approval, doing consultation. So as part of business planning, we'll have to map out that process and put some costings to it, but then council to consider as part of the 2627 business planning process.
Just another question. Is it possible to have consultation at the very beginning of the process to determine whether it's what the businesses and community that live along that street actually want?
I'll go to the CEO.
So my understanding, and I'll look towards the director or the manager for confirmation, is that we have to go to the relevant department first for approval to actually consider changing the name so that it meets their criteria, and then it needs to go to consultation, and I'm getting a nod in relation to that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Sosowski.
I'd like to speak on this motion, please. And I did give an impartial interest regarding this item. This motion was submitted by my spouse. My spouse went through the same process as everyone else did through the AGM process. It was approved by the ratepayers, and my spouse is following the same process as everyone else. The reason I do want to speak on this is because we have, as a city, adopted an economic development strategy, and that economic development strategy places strong emphasis and speaks to strengthening activity corridors, improving place identity, enhancing visitation, and supporting local businesses through better visibility and connectivity. Beaufort Street is not just a road name. It is a recognised economic corridor. It carries identity, reputation, commercial significance, and value. Where that identity is fragmented, there is a missed opportunity to reinforce a clear and coherent destination for residents, visitors, and businesses alike. What was notably absent from the city's original assessment of the motion is any assessment of these economic considerations. There was no analysis of how changing Brunav to Beaufort Street could strengthen this corridor's identity. There was no exploration of the benefits for over the 500 plus businesses located in the Morley Activity Centre. Business visibility, wayfinding, or even visitation. There was no engagement with the very stakeholders, our businesses, and the residents who live on and also off the streets that are adjacent and connecting to this corridor. These people stand to benefit because of the value of the name Beaufort Street. Instead, the conclusion rested on assumed lack of support and the presence of cost without testing either against potential long-term benefits. That was not a strategic assessment. It was an administrative one. Our economic development strategy requires us to look beyond inconvenience and consider broader economic outcomes. It requires us to weigh costs against benefits, not simply just list them. And it requires us to engage with stakeholders when assessing changes that may impact them. For those reasons, I believe the appropriate course of action is not to dismiss the proposal, but to properly assess it. The amended motion before us allows us to assess this proposal properly. It does not commit the city to a name change. Instead, it ensures that the proposal is evaluated in a manner consistent with our adopted strategy, including consultation, economic analysis, and consideration through our business planning process and service planning actions. This is about aligning our decisions with our strategies, and it is about ensuring that transformational opportunities are given proper and rigorous consideration. Doing this through our annual business planning process and looking how this can be done through a project as part of our economic development strategy is the right thing for council to do. I encourage all councillors to support the amended motion.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Deputy Mayor?
It's just a question, please, Madam Mayor. I guess following up from the questions from Councillor Lede, just so I understand again what it means. So it says considers the renaming during the business planning process. So what does it mean in reality? Are we going to see a line in the budget with some budget for exploration? Are we going to already get some information for council to make a decision? Or this authorizes the city to already start part of the process?
I'll go to the CEO.
So through you, Madam Mayor, the way that I read this, Deputy Mayor, is it to be considered during the business planning process. So we will scope out what that project looks like. We'll give you some timelines. We'll give you some commitments in terms of what officer time would be associated with that and any costings involved in that project around consultation for then council to consider. So we'll probably highlight it within the service plan or as an operating project, and then council can consider that in the context of all their other operating projects and service plans.
Thank you.
Can I just add to that? That's my intention, is that it's included as part of that service plan, and that's why it says a potential action, because it needs to be considered. Councillor Ladder?
I'd like to speak on this. I have been in two minds about it since the AGM, actually. I've been initially thinking about it as a business owner. I thought about the panic if my address changed and the costs to my business of having to update all of my materials, my website, my suppliers, all of that stuff. Balancing that against the potential economic benefit of a name change, honestly, I'm not sure that a name change is necessarily transformational. There's a long distance between the vibrant parts of Beaufort Street and Braun Ave. But I am willing to consider it and give businesses and residents an opportunity to have their say rather than me assuming what they will think.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this? If not, I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Councillor Latta, you've submitted an alternative for motion 16. Would you like to move it? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. This has come up before, came up last year, possibly before then as well. And my alternative just kind of strengthens the commitment to investigate speed reductions and potential trial once the LCERS is finished. It's really clear to me in this part of Maylands that there is strong demand for speed reduction, safer streets. We have a pretty interesting demographic in Maylands compared to a lot of the rest of City of Bayswater. In the last census, the number of households with one car is like a bit lower than the national average, but the number of households that have two cars plus is really low compared to the national average, like something like 35% compared to 55%. And Bayswater, like the postcode of Bayswater, is very close to that national average. So like Maylands, different things are happening in Maylands to other parts of the City of Bayswater. There's a lot of demand for better, safer, active transport options. And I think that speed reductions supported by LCERS is actually a really cost-effective way for us to begin that rather than having to, I think it works in conjunction with a range of other infrastructure, but I think this is the first and easy kind of step for us to do the assessment and hopefully get speed reductions in that peninsula area.
Deputy Mayor.
Yep, look, fully support everything that I heard from the mover. I'll just highlight that we reduced the speed limit in the Mount Lawley part of the city. Several years ago, I haven't received even one complaint, even though it was a tiny precinct. Again, I haven't received any complaints, and it was already done. So I think it's the time to move on. Once we finish with LCERS towards the Maylands Peninsula, there is demand, I agree, and there is need. And yeah, I think we owe it to the residents that are concerned for their safety in that very urban area to be looking into this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor McDonald.
Thanks very much, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say that I've learned significant amounts about cycle infrastructure from Kate. She has raised several motions, and she's very passionate about this topic, and I'll be very happy to support it.
Thank you. Councillor Sosowski.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor mentioned there were speed limit decreases in Mount Lawley area. Can the City advise what those decreases were and what number we're sitting at the moment, please?
I'll go to the Director.
Through the Chair, the reductions there were it crosses the boundary with the City of Vincent. It's an area zone speed reduction that was trialled at 40 kilometres an hour for the area. A small portion of that area falls within the City of Bayswater. It was a trial and it's still in place now.
So 40 kilometres an hour is where we're sitting at the moment in that Mount Lawley area. I just want to make a comment if I can.
Yeah.
I absolutely understand the need to reduce speeds in some areas, particularly in residential streets. However, when we start reducing down to the 30 kilometre per hour, I have a concern that increases frustrations of drivers and potentially can lead to even worse driving behaviours. So yeah, I'm just concerned that going down to 30 will create more problems.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to support this motion. Maylands Peninsula, I believe, is quite a unique place. It's not necessarily a thoroughfare for a lot of drivers. It's mostly about residential. Yes, there are some going to the Maylands foreshore area, but I believe on the whole it is quite a unique space within our city in that it is a peninsula. It's quite chopped off in a way. I think that's if we want to improve, especially cycling and active transport around that area as well, we just passed a motion in regards to 8th Avenue, which I think supports that as well. So I think this goes hand in hand with that. I think if we can get more people onto the bikes, more people walking around the neighbourhood as well, and feeling more safer about that, I believe that's a positive thing. It is asking for a trial. It's not asking for a permanence review there, and look, if the trial doesn't work, I'm happy to explore the options of 40 kilometres, but we have to do that trial first to see if that actually is effective or not. So I'm happy to support that, and I'm hoping that the council supports as well.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against?
I have a question. Like, it would have been nice to have seen a map of the exact area that we're talking about. Would have been useful.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll speak to it. I'm going to support this, but I just want to make a few comments myself. Just because you reduce the speed limit doesn't mean you change driver behaviour, doesn't mean it's safer, and sometimes having reduced speed limits gives a false sense of security to children and parents and pedestrians and bike cyclists. And we really actually need to focus on more education and parents being involved as well in teaching their kids that whilst it might be slower, there can still be dangers on the road. So I think that's something that, you know, we need to highlight. Driver behaviour is very different to speed limits. Anyone else wish to speak on this? If not, I'll go the move to close.
Thank you. I'll just address a couple of comments. Firstly, this doesn't commit us to a reduction to 30 kilometres per hour. It merely doesn't exclude it from the options the city assesses. So there will be experts that look at the different speed reduction options and it will be decided from there. It doesn't lock us into anything. Also, 30 kilometre per hour reductions are in some of our plans. So it is not out of the question and council has approved those plans. So regarding driver behaviour, it's part of the reason why I made this amendment happen. I made the investigation happen after LCIRS is installed so that it is supported by new infrastructure. And just to reiterate that this includes these options for consideration in the future. It doesn't lock us into anything right now, but it does make sure that once LCIRS is installed, we will get the data that we need to progress. And the area, I understand there's no map, but Garrett Road, Guildford Road to the edge of the city of Bayswater, down the peninsula. Thank you.
I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Luddock, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Black, Councillor McDonald and myself. All those against? Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Osowski, Councillor Pittaway, Councillor Sutherland. That is carried. Deputy Mayor, you have submitted an alternative motion, for motion 20. Would you like to move it?
Yes, please.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Black. Deputy
Yes.
Mayor.
Thank you. So it says that Council considers an allocation of $30,000 in the draft Forward Capital Works Programme for 2026-2027 for the installation of shade sails at Riverside Gardens enclosed dog park to be funded from cash in lieu of public open space funds. So I do think we should consider this issue. It has been raised with me and with Council for several years now since we actually created the enclosed dog park. The two picnic sheltered, tables that are there are not really providing much shade. and not from sun or rain. So they are not a solution. People are telling us that without proper shade, they can't actually enjoy this place that we actually created for that purpose. And it does bring a lot of people and a lot of neighbors together. So I think the benefit for our community for investment in this is really great. And it does not fall in any of our other plans like playgrounds, etc. This is a unique one, and this is why I'm moving it forward to be considered in the budget. And I'm proposing to fund it from cash in lieu, so there will not be any impact, hopefully, on the budget. I checked with the officers, and there is cash in lieu to fund this, because that will be proven to a public open space. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to second this motion. I think it's really important to think about what we just passed before in regards to the accessibility bays for the dog park as well. And I believe this does go a little bit hand in hand to ensure that we do make this park more accessible in general for people with disabilities or with mobility needs, but also who have who need shelter from the sun or from the elements as well. I can see the photo from the officer's comment in the report here. It looks quite bright, and that's not a lot of shade that's being provided. I do recognise that there have been trees planted along the perimeter, but as we all know, trees take a long time to produce shade and mature and serve their purpose. So I think this is a good approach. I also believe that it's a good approach to use the cash in lieu for public open space funds. I believe it's a good use of those funds, especially for one of our reserves in a much loved area of the dog park. I thank the Deputy Mayor for moving this alternative motion, and I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Ostaszewski, Councillor Pittaway, Councillor Ladder, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Black, Councillor McDonald and myself. All those against? Councillor Sutherland. That is carried. Councillor Ostaszewski, you've submitted an alternative for motion 21. Would you like to move it?
Yes, please.
Can I have a seconder? Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Ostaszewski.
Thank you. The intersection at Brunav / I'm going to say Beaufort Street with Beachborough Road, where Charlie's is and where BP is there, the right-hand turn into Beachborough Road is a dangerous turn. That intersection is becoming increasingly busy, and the line of sight when turning right is restricted by turning traffic from the other direction. So a right-hand turn arrow at that intersection would allow for safe right-hand turn movements. Now, the city has looked at this intersection before, and in terms of the crash data for a period of 4 years, there were 44 crashes at that intersection. 10 were casualty crashes of medical severity, and 2 of these were associated with the right turn filter movement, and 1 resulted in a severe medical emergency. So this intersection is dangerous. That right-hand turn is missing a right-hand turn arrow. All of the other parts of that intersection have a right turn arrow, so I think it would be sensible for us to looking at getting a right hand turn signal put in for that movement.
Councillor Loiacono.
I fully support this. I grew up in this area and I've experienced a few near misses myself, so I'm exactly what Councillor Ostaszewski said. I fully support this amendment.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just some quick comments. I fully support this motion. As someone who is a big fan of attending Charlie's and getting a beautiful Conti roll and returning home, that right-hand turn at those lights there are dangerous. Unfortunately, it's the way to get home. It's quite a blind corner as well for traffic when you're trying to turn there on the uncontrolled arrow. I would love to see a controlled arrow there. The Councillor Ostaszewski raised some of the crash metrics there. I think that's justification enough, and I'm glad to see it, well, hopefully glad to see it get done.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll go to the mover to close. Councillor, do you wish to close?
Apologies, nothing to add, thank you.
I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Councillor Osazowski, would you like to move your alternate for motion 23?
Yes, thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Osazowski.
Thank you. This is my final one for this evening. During the course of a year, many residents and ratepayers come to us looking for solutions to their local issues, and this is another one here that this ratepayer has been trying to figure out how to get some action on for many years. This ratepayer lives next door to a reserve, and the reserve has a whole pile of trees up against the fence line, which are overhanging into her property. They're damaging her front garden, damaging her house, and all she is simply requesting is for the trees to be pruned back to the boundary line so that, so it no longer has an impact on her property. A very simple request to help a ratepayer who has never asked anything of the City of Bayswater before.
Councillor Loiacono? Nothing. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Black?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to foreshadow the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Latta?
Can I just ask a question? Typically, is it the property owner who would be required to trim overhanging trees at the boundary line? Like which property owner? The one who has them overhanging or the one who owns the tree?
I think that's correct between private properties.
Yeah.
I think it may be different if the tree overhanging is a public tree, but I'll go to the director to respond. I could be wrong.
Through the chair, what the mayor's explained is correct. It's normally that rule applies between two private properties. In this particular case, it's not a private property, so it's a city. We normally, if any work was to be done, we'd normally go and do that work.
So can I ask why that wasn't done in this case? If it's been raised before?
I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, city officers or the arborists have looked at the trees and believe that there's no need to prune the trees back, and that's why they've been left the way they are.
May I clarify, do the trees overhang into the other person's property?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, yes they do, but that's not always a reason why we'd go and prune the trees.
Anyone wish to speak on this item? If not, I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So councillors and members in the gallery, that is all of the alternate motions for this item. Can I please have a mover and seconder to adopt the officer's recommendations for the remaining motions as contained in attachment 2? Move Councillor Loiacono, seconded Councillor Latta. All those in favour? That is Councillor Loiacono. Sorry, can you keep your hands up if you're voting? Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Osazowski, Councillor Pittaway, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Black, Councillor McDonald and myself. All those against? Councillor Sutherland. That is carried. And that concludes consideration of the motions from the 24-25 AGM of electors. Thank you again to all the electors who contributed to these motions. Okay. So we'll now move to the items that were subject to deputations. So the first one is 10.3.1 verge tree removal request. Nobody's pulled this. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Black, seconded Councillor McDonald. Councillor Black, anything? Councillor McDonald, anything? Anyone wish to speak against this? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Latta?
What item are we on?
10.3.1, the verge tree removal request, 36 Clark Road. Officer's recommendation has been moved. Anyone wish to speak on this? If not, I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So we're now at 10.4.1, development application, proposed paddle court additions to Noranda Sporting Complex. Councillor Sutherland, you've moved this one? Oh, you
I
pulled
just
this.
pulled it so we could get it on the table.
Are you moving it?
No.
Councillor Pittaway, you've submitted some amendments. Do you wish to move it with your amendments?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move it with my amendments, if that's all right.
Okay, councillors, they've all been provided to you in the run sheet and we'll get those on the screen for you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Loiacono. Councillor Pittaway.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, yeah, I will be supporting the officer's recommendation here with the addition of my amendments to this motion. After listening to the residents of Wild Road last week, and I do greatly appreciate the input through your deputations that you made last week, I felt that restricting the access via Wild Road is a really important move to address residents' concerns about increased traffic and noise. Allowing access from this street would unnecessarily impact locals, particularly with extra vehicle movement and people hanging around before and after games. Participants will be encouraged to park in the Noranda shopping car park, as well as in the Morley Noranda recreational car park, and access should instead be through the club rooms only or via a side access outside of the club hours of operation, where things can be managed more effectively, in my opinion. This helps limit the impact on Wild Road and encourages patrons to stay within the facility of the Morley Noranda Recreation Club before or after games are completed, and also reduce noise spilling into nearby homes. This also allows the club to manage rowdy behaviour and control any people doing the wrong thing, certainly around the provision of alcohol. At the same time, the Morley Noranda Recreation Club should be looking at ways to increase revenue through patronage and leasing opportunities, such as activities like paddleball. With council moving towards requiring more clubs to contribute to costs like rates and utilities, it's important that the facility can generate sustainable income, and this is another avenue for them to do that. It would also make sense to reduce evening hours of play by 1 hour so that it finishes by 9 p.m. daily. That's a fair and reasonable step to minimise late night noise and lighting. Similarly, Sunday games are not to start before 9 a.m. to avoid early morning disruption. Paddleball in particular presents a great opportunity for the area. It's a fast-growing global sport that offers a fun and social experience for friends and families, encourages people to get outdoors, stay active and support positive mental health outcomes. Overall, these are practical and fair measures that help balance the needs of residents while also supporting the long-term sustainability and activation of the facility. And I ask councillors to support the amendments to this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Loiacono.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This application in planning terms is a straightforward one. The proposed paddle courts are located within an established sporting complex on land zoned for public open space where recreational uses are expected. There's no land use conflict, and this is exactly the type of development this site is intended to accommodate. Importantly, our officers have undertaken a full assessment against the planning framework and reached a clear conclusion. The proposal complies and should be approved. The conclusion is supported by detailed technical evidence. On noise, often the primary concern, an acoustic assessment confirms that development can comply with environmental protection noise regulations, particularly with acoustic treatments and operational controls secured through conditions. On traffic and parking, the city's engineers have reviewed the proposal and are satisfied that existing parking supply and the surrounding road network can accommodate these. Put simply, the key impacts have been identified, assessed and resolved. And while there has been some community opposition, I consider that Councillor Pittaway's amendment appropriately balances the concerns raised by residents while allowing a compliant development to proceed. And this leads to a simple but critical point. There is no defensible planning grounds before us to refuse this application. On the other hand, approval delivers clear benefits. It activates unutilised space, provides accessible recreational infrastructure and supports community health and wellbeing. The application complies, the impacts are acceptable, and I'll be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against?
Madam Mayor, may I just ask a question
Go
in
ahead.
relation? Just in the alternative motion, the lim 2H refers to the movement of patrons to ensure access to the paddle courts is only accessible via the recreation club. Can I just get an understanding of what that actually means? Does that mean that patrons can only enter the court area that we are assessing as part of this development application via the north side of the development application site? Is that the intention of this lim?
I'll go to the mover to clarify. That's how I would read it, but I'll go to the mover to clarify.
Yes, that's correct, Councillor Black, yeah.
Councillor Latta.
I also have just two questions. Firstly, a question of the city whether lim 2H is okay in terms of like emergency egress, whether it prevents anything that needs to be there, and whether people can still use other exits.
I will go to the director to respond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks for the question. So LIM H is part of Condition 2, which is around a detailed operational management plan. So we will look at that as part of how the whole site will operate and function, and those considerations will be included. We won't be able to control things like where people park. People can park wherever they want, but in terms of accessing the site, we'll work with the operator to ensure that element is implemented.
Okay, thank you. And can I also ask if the city knows if the proponent is comfortable with these additions?
Thanks. I'll go to the director to respond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, as I understand it, the applicant is accepting of the alternative motion. They are in the room as well.
Deputy Mayor.
Just a question, please, Madam Mayor. Can the city explain what happens if following development, the city receives complaints with regards to noise? What will be the process that the city will undertake to deal with those complaints? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to the director to respond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have our Manager Regulatory Services here who manages that process, so I might ask him to provide information on that, please.
Thank you. Through the chair. So essentially, if complaints are received in relation to noise, we would send our officers out, so environmental health officers who are authorised to deal with noise complaints. So they would set up noise monitoring equipment at the resident's property who has raised the concerns, and we would check for compliance against the assigned levels under the noise regulations.
And what happens if there is a breach of the regulations?
I'll go to the manager.
If there's a breach of the regulations, we would try and work with the applicant in the first instance to try and rectify that breach. If not, then there are options to deal with that under the Environment Protection Noise Regulations. So there are enforcement provisions that are available if the assigned levels aren't met and measures haven't been taken to comply.
Thank you. Can the manager just elaborate a bit which kind of measures can be undertaken if there is a breach and the operator is not fixing those breaches? Like shutting down the venue? Is it one of them?
So if we're dealing with it purely under the noise regulations, there's the ability to issue infringement notices for non-compliance. There's environmental protection notices as well, which are more significant penalties. There's prosecutions. So there's a number of different avenues that can be taken under the noise regulations, but essentially there's also, it is a condition of the planning as well to comply with those requirements, and they'll be subject to obviously those requirements under Planning and Development Act as well.
Thank you. So I'll just make a few comments. In light of this advice, I will support the amended alternative motion in front of us. I thank Councillor Peterway for making those very good changes. So I will support it.
Thank you. I have a question, and I'm not sure if it's best directed to the mover or the city. Just in terms of the amendment, the additional limb of 2H, is there a reason why the wording is as is rather than prohibits access from Wild Road? So rather than stipulating exactly where it comes from, and then there was questions about, well, what does that mean, or what does that mean for one? So another councillor asked, does that in fire or whatever? Is there a reason why it couldn't just be prohibits an access way from Wild Road? Is there a reason? I don't know is that to the director?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. It is worded in the positive as to where to encourage the access from. It could be worded alternatively to word it in the negative as to where we don't want people to come from. Like I said, the applicants in the room, we could ask them if you wanted some more information on that element from how they're going to operate. But we would work, should this be approved as is, we would work with the operator to implement that. But like I said, we won't be able to stop. People can park, if they park legally on Wild Road, they park legally.
It's not about parking. It's about the proposed access point that would allow direct access from Wild Road, because my understanding from the deputations is that it is actually the negative that they're seeking. But I was just wondering, perhaps the mover has any comment on those wording?
Yeah, I think, well, I understand what you're trying to say, and really what it was about was just trying to alleviate, because where the courts will be, it would be probably determined by the participants that they would just park on Wild Road and just walk straight in. And I think this is a collaboration with the Morley-Noranda Recreation Club. And speaking to the president there, he would prefer that the participants come through the club, so in a win-win situation for them and also the residents on Wild Road, so that people aren't just pulling out to Wild Road, simply playing, checking in, playing and leaving, and then and nothing else happens. So I think it was more around trying to direct the participants to move through the Morley-Noranda Recreational Club in that sense. You certainly, as I concur with the director there, that, there's nothing to say you can't park on Wild Road. Not at all. Obviously, you can walk to the ends and come around and so forth, but it's just about sort of after a while that people get used to it, and then they'll realise that parking on Wild Road is a long walk around to get to where they need to.
Okay, that's fine. Anyone wish to speak on this? Councillor Black?
One quick question, Madam Mayor, if that's okay. Just Lim 4 of the planning conditions refers to all trees in the land and adjacent verge area to be retained and protected, etc. Just note that in other planning conditions, we've also included provisions for tree protection zones. Just want to see if there's any, in the opinion of the city, if that is a necessary move in this planning application.
I'll go to the director.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the following condition, condition 5, is a construction management plan. Through that, we would work with the applicant to ensure that if there are any trees that are near that construction, that we would have a tree protection zone in there. So I feel it's satisfactorily covered through condition 5.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this? Councillor Sutherland?
Yeah, I'm still in two minds about this. I totally get the alternate motion is much better. I'm still not 100% certain that these people will go through the club, and I think that is the reason the club wants this pedal courts there, and obviously the applicant wants it there, because the club wants the revenue, hopefully, from these people that will maybe get a drink or something before or after the game. Although I do know that a lot of paddle board people are health freaks, so I'm not sure if they will, but I do think it's really, really, really important that they only go through the club and not from Wild Road, because these people are getting peppered all the time. And I realise this is a sports precinct, and really they're lucky to be living in an area with such wide fields, but it's going to be a bit of a nuisance for them, and especially the noise. So I'm still in two minds, but it is. We do need it. The club needs it for more income. So I would like to hear what anyone else has got to say.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this? Councillor Latta?
I have one more question. I just note that this alternate only includes Lim 1 and 2. What happens to the rest of the conditions? Are they still included in? Just looking at it on the screen, it doesn't have the full motion. Can I just get clarification that the rest of the motion?
I'll go to the manager of governance.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, sorry, the run sheet I think is a little bit confusing. My understanding is that this is the officer recommendation moved in its entirety with these amendments that are shown in red.
Councillor Black?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I just have another clarifying question just off the back of what Councillor Sutherland was mentioning. Just on that question again about Lim 2H refers to the movement of patrons. my clarifying question was asking if it was restricting it to the north-facing side of that green side, and that was confirmed, but we're talking about accessing via or through the Morley Naranda Recreation Club itself, and to my mind, those are two different things. Can I just get clarity from either the mover or from a city officer in regards to what that limb actually means in the planning context, and if that means, in my understanding of where the site of the green is, the north side is accessible and is open and people can walk around that green, or do they have to actually go through the facilities of the club itself?
I will go to the director to respond.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. The way I would take it is that they would need to actually go through the club, and that's what we would work with the operator to put in place the details of the operational management plan to achieve.
So just another clarifying question. Does the, in a previous question, the councillor asked if that was the understanding of the proponent that they were accepting of these terms? Was that their understanding that that they were accepting that it was going to go through the club facilities itself and not that north side? Just want to understand that.
Maybe we get a nod. No, not really, but a nod or I'll go the director.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So my understanding is that that is acceptable to them, but for absolute clarity, it may be worth asking because they are in the room, and that's what as officers we would work to implement with the operator.
Okay, if that's the case, I'll, Councillor Black, are you interested to hear from the applicant?
Yes.
Because I'll need to move suspend standing orders.
Yes, please.
I'm moving to suspend standing orders to allow the proponent an option to address questions, seconded by Councillor Latta. All those in favour? That is Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Pittaway, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Black, Councillor McDonald and myself. All those against is Councillor Ossowski and Councillor Sutherland. So standing orders are now suspended. I'm going to invite the applicant to come forward just to clarify whether your understanding of the access is as described.
Sure. So I think what we did discuss with the club was the club's operating hours are every weekday 8:30 a.m. Till 10 p.m. On weekends 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Public holidays is I think 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. So the idea was they have a separate walkway right next to the club, that there would be an access point there. Every single player would have their own personalised code that we automate through the process, but the access would either be through that club or just through a walkway next door to the club, but on the north side.
Okay.
If that answers the question.
Are there any further questions before we reinstate standing orders? I'll ask a question. There are amendments to operating hours, reducing the closing from 10 to 9, and then on Sundays changing it to a 9 a.m. start from a 7 a.m. start. Can you confirm that that is suitable for your operations?
Yeah, so I think obviously we put in for 10, but I think just considering everything, happy to progress with this for the start of the club, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm moving to reinstate standing orders, seconded Councillor Latta. All those in favour? That's unanimous by those in the room. Councillor Black, have you got a further question?
No further questions, but just support for the motion that's before us. I'm very satisfied with the answers that have been received by the proponent and also by also the officers in the room, and I'm happy to support it.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to? Councillor Latta?
Thank you. I will just speak on it and say that I think it's wonderful that clubs are finding these kinds of partnerships, and I think it's a really important part of sustaining these clubs in the city of Bayswater. I'm fine with compromises that might make it easier for residents to live in proximity to it. I understand that change is hard, but also all residents want greater amenity and access to new and exciting services in their area. So I think that it's a really great improvement, and I look forward to seeing more clubs find innovative ways to, to carry on their operations.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll go to the mover to close.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I thank you all councillors for listening to that and debating that. On both sides, Councillor Loiacono sort of pointed out this is a proposal that's makes sense in a lot of ways, and it's going to be hard to disapprove in that sense. But also, I go to your point, Councillor Latter, that community needs more positive outcomes in terms of whether it's health and exercise and those sorts of things. And this really goes to supporting that in the community. It makes sense from the point that it's not sort of in a park that doesn't have any of these other facilities. We've got a soccer ground there, we've got a athletics ground there, we've got a netball, lawn bowls and a tennis court. So it does fit in with that proposal, and obviously this is new, and I understand that residents on Wild Road may not be thrilled with this, but what was in front of us, I thought it was important to make these changes so that it is delivered in a way that has less impact on those people on Wild Road, and also that it's important for the community of Naranda and the greater city of Bayswater. This could be the first one in the city of Bayswater. If it passes through all the management plans and so forth of council, and so I think it's a great outcome for all residents in the community. It promotes healthy exercise, which I clearly need to do more. I'm not ready for lawn bowls. I do play a bit of tennis. Clearly I can't run and jump, and I'm no good at soccer. So, there's potential for me to do this, and I know my wife and kids. I just sort of think of that sort of scenario where I can be playing this with my wife and two boys, and I think that's not something that we do. I might play half-court tennis with the two boys, but not this. So I think this goes a long way to sort of developing community, keeping families together, which I think is very important in this day and age, and I think it makes sound financial sense as well for the Morley Naranda Recreational Club, and I hope this will be a positive outcome for the community in Naranda and its residents around there. So thank you.
I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Osuzowski, Councillor Pittaway, Councillor Latter, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Black, Councillor McDonald and myself. All those against? Councillor Sutherland. That is carried. Feel free to So, councillors, there was another item that was subject to a deputation, and it's the confidential item. And normally we would consider that under the confidential section. However, we do have the executive manager here just for that one item, and there's nobody in the gallery. So I'm going to move that we bring item 14.1.1 forward and consider that behind closed doors. So I'd like to first move a motion to bring it forward. I'm moving that, seconded by Councillor McDonald. All those in favour? All those in favour is Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Osuzowski, Councillor Pittaway, Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Latter, Councillor Black, Councillor McDonald and myself. All those against is Deputy Mayor. So we're now bringing that forward. Can I move to go behind closed doors? I'll move that, seconded by Councillor Black. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So if we can close the doors and turn off the live stream for consideration of this. Is that okay? That's okay.
Yes, just need to read out.
Oh. So, councillors, I need to do a public reading of council resolution as per the new changes. Yes? So, in regards to item 14.1.1, the resolution reads as follows: that council has adopted the officer recommendation as contained in the confidential report, but has resolved to keep the council resolution confidential until public notice is given in accordance with section 3.58 of the Local Government Act 1995 to ensure that negotiations have been finalised prior to public consultation being undertaken. Okay, so we now go back to adoption by, oh no, wait, sorry. Okay, so we've now considered everything that was subject to a deputation, and we'll move to reports in section 10 that have been withdrawn by councillor. The first one is 10.1.1. No one's actually withdrawn this, but it requires an absolute majority. So it's the new model code of conduct. Do I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Black, seconded Councillor Loiacono. Councillor Black, anything? Councillor Loiacono, anything? Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, then the next one is 10.1.2, Policy Review, Code of Conduct, Complaint Management. Deputy Mayor, you've pulled this and you have indicated an amendment.
Yes,
Are you
thank
moving that?
Yes. You have it
As per
in
your
the run
amendment?
sheet. Yes.
So, all councillors, you have been provided the wording. And do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Pittaway. Councillor Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be quick. Look, I can't say I'm happy with all the changes that the state government made with regards to this issue. And as always, the cost shifting from the state government continue to us. And we and our ratepayers will continue to pay for all those, dealing with all those complaints if we need to go to someone else, but we don't have really an option here, I feel. So I didn't really want to move it, but I really wanted to actually just make those highlights that the independent assessor can actually look at those reasons as if the complaint is frivolous, trivial, vexatious, misconceived, and without substance. They can do it anyway, but I really thought that it should be highlighted for the assessor themselves. So that's it.
Thank you. Councillor Pittaway.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Member. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's important that any allegations like that, proven or not, should be actually documented as to what they were. And so I support it.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Okay, so councillors, again, there's more to the recommendation, the officer's recommendation, than what's on your run sheet. So are we able to get the whole thing on the screen? Just for clarity, we'll get it up on the screen. Okay, so councillors, that is the entire motion on the screen now. So it's only the amendment.
I think there is a mistake here, Madam Mayor. I think the amendment needs to be incorporated into one, if I'm correct. I think it's all one, yes.
We're going to get that on the screen properly, just to make sure that's done right. That's okay. while they're doing that, I'll continue debate. So we've had the mover and the seconder speak. Does anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Okay. So we'll just wait before we vote to make sure it's on the screen. Can I think I'm going to move a motion to adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes for a comfort break for everybody. So do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Black. All those in favour? That is Councillor Loiacono. Councillor Loiacono, are you supporting the comfort break? Okay, Councillor Ostrzowski, Councillor Pittaway, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Black, Councillor McDonald and myself. All those against? Councillor Sutherland. We're adjourning for 5 minutes and we'll come back. Okay, so we're recommencing. The Manager of Governance, would you like to explain what we're going to be moving?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So just to clarify, the council is moving the officer recommendation as contained in the addendum or the supplementary information that was circulated to council and is on the website, with the Deputy Mayor's amendment, which was shown and read on the screen before. So that's what's being moved and seconded.
We just can't get it on the screen because we're having technical difficulties, but that's very clear what we're moving. So I'm going to put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so the next item that's been pulled is 10.1.4, submission to Walga electoral reform. I've pulled this, but I've pulled it to vote against. So is there a mover and seconder? Anyone? Otherwise it will, so, otherwise it'll move. Councillor Black, seconded. Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Black? Nothing? Councillor Loiacono? Okay, so I will not be supporting this motion. I will not be supporting the submission because I fundamentally disagree with a lot of the points raised. So I do support a 4-year full spill.
Sorry, can I just check? Should the mover not?
No, I asked them.
Oh, sorry.
They both declined. So I do support 4-year full spills. I believe it helps with stability, continuity, governance. There's less disruption as it halves the amount of caretaker periods, and everyone will be inducted and trained at the same time. It helps with planning because it's the same group of councillors for a longer period of time, and there's less political interference by having less elections, and there's less voter fatigue. 4 years full spill elections are undertaken in every other Australian state, and the stats show that there is at least a 40 to 50% likelihood of sitting councillors being returned. Therefore, the suggestion that a lot of people have made about the risk that an entire council would be replaced and we would then suffer a loss of knowledge is not backed up by evidence from the other states. And also, if an entire councillor is an entire council where you've got from 7 to 15 councillors is not re-elected by that community, that's what democracy is for. It shows that maybe there's something wrong with the council and the community don't want that council anymore. So there's nothing wrong with that. I also support the introduction of compulsory voting. So when voter turnout is only at around 30% or less in Western Australia, with optional preferential voting, I don't believe that it necessarily reflects, it doesn't necessarily result in true representation of the broader community. And one way to improve this is by implementing compulsory voting. Both state and federal governments have compulsory voting, so why should local government be any different? This creates confusion in the community about their obligations as electors. Also, as a local government, we manage and make decisions about extremely large budgets and make important decisions that affect residents' everyday life. We are grassroots. And so it's really important to require electors to engage and participate in choosing their representatives. So as the City of Bayswater, we should be looking to be leaders in championing what is in the best interest of our community, which is less elections, less politicking, more planning, and more getting on with the job of delivering for our community. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone? Councillor Latta?
Yeah, I actually agree with most of what you've said. I've thought about it a lot over the last year since it first was floated. I do have some concerns about the introduction of compulsory voting, which I do think is necessary, but I think that it needs to be supported by increased public education about the work of local councils and increased engagement. But I do support 4-year full spills. I think it gives councils the space to do more work, better work, and less politically influenced by elections work. So, yeah.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Sutherland.
I just want to make some comments. I know the Northern Territory started off, they have compulsory voting, but it's still down to 50% for local government. So they don't mind paying the $30 or $20 or $50, whatever the fine is. I don't think the politics is going to take it out. I think the politics will be put in if it's compulsory. You know, compulsory voting and this preferential system, I don't agree with. We've had a federal government that got in on 37%. We've got a state government that just won in South Australia on 34%. You know, that's democracy, as we say. That's representative democracy, but it's still about the same amount of votes that we get in with, so but on a bigger scale. So I'm not sure if compulsory voting is the answer. I think people are fatigued in Australia with voting in general, and I don't know what sort of education we're going to do, but we have a lot of good education in schools on elections, but nobody cares basically. So I don't know what we're going to do to make that better.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Pittaway.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if I'm speaking for or against this one, but anyway, I just... Did you change something? No. Okay, so we're just going with the recommendation, yeah. Okay, that's cool. No, I guess, and I just really wanted to challenge a little bit of that, what you said, Madam Mayor, that because if I just go to the points there, the first one, continuing knowledge, retention and stability of council, you sort of argued that, most councils aren't completely wiped out, and I agree with that. And it sort of says there that it acknowledges that in other jurisdictions where generally around 40%, 40-50% elected members will stay on council. So it's unlikely that most people would be completely removed. So it sort of says that in that sense. But I do thank the officer for this report, because the second one I think is the most important one that I want sent to Wolga. In and around the last election in 2025. I think it makes a very good point there, saying that, the elected members had the understanding, they funded their own election campaigns on the basis they would be appointed for a 4-year term. And I think this is being disregarded by the Honourable Minister there. And I think, I want to challenge that narrative that she has on that. And also, the costs and so forth. So a lot of it is a position of this current state government, which I don't entirely endorse this notion from the state government on this. I'm not against a full council spill every 4 years, but I think I would just state my point that, the Honourable Minister had the opportunity to present this last year in 2025 to all councils and running council or potential councillors and whatnot, to bring this up and just sort of state that the next 2 years will be, after the next 2 years there'll be a full spill on council. That didn't happen, and I think that's where the Honourable Minister went wrong. And I think based upon this proposal, is that we go to a full council spill in 2029, and that in next year that for the councillors who are going to be running in 2027, they're advised that they will only be on a 2-year term. So I support that. So I think it's a good motion. So that's it.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Deputy Mayor.
Yeah. Thank you. Just for the record, I decided to vote against this, and I do agree with many of the comments that the Mayor has made, so I won't repeat them. I did change my position on this over time. I thought that the 2-year spill has benefits, but overall now I see that there are bigger benefits for a 4-year spill plus compulsory voting. And the point that I wanted to make about compulsory voting, and I know that some residents are really not interested in local government and to vote and participate, but probably they're not also interested in state and federal politics, could be. I do think, and I experienced the interference of political parties in already local government elections, and I am hopeful that compulsory voting will reduce their influence using members. And as an independent, I experienced that in every of the elections that I had. If it was the Labour Party in the first one, the second one it was the Greens Party, and the last one that was the Socialist Party. So I experienced that, how they're using their party frameworks against independent candidates. So I'm hoping that compulsory voting will be considered by the minister, even though she belongs to a party, but that is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll go the mover to close.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make some closing comments here, and first up, I want to appreciate the officers for producing this report here. I think it's quite evident that it's very hard to get a council position on this that's unified. I just want to make some comments in regards to the participation rate that we've seen drop down. And I don't think it's a case that people are not interested in local government or not interested in what we do here, because I think a lot of people do care about their roads, the safety that they experience on those roads, their parks and playgrounds. They do care about the trees. They do care about everything that matters to them. And we saw that in action last month or so with the 24 motions that were moved at the AGM of electors, which I understand to be a large number compared to other years as well. So I do think that people are interested. I just think that there's different ways to get them involved, whether or not that's compulsory or voluntary vote, sticking the way with voluntary voting or introducing compulsory voting is the way to go. I think that there are some other things that we could have a look at, and I always cite the example of Albany having 23 candidates for 5 positions in a whole ward, and for a lot of those electors, they only received a 1,000 character statement from those candidates. Now, it's very hard to determine, as the Mayor said, who we elect to run, in our example, a $100 million budget every year, if they don't understand who these people are. And I do recognise that state and federal, they are afforded the political party representation that tends to speak for them. But I think in local, we need to maybe have a broader look at, and this is not necessarily a solution, but a broader look as to how we do increase that participation through information, knowledge, and getting to know the candidates as well, or having another form. I'm not sure if compulsory is the answer there. Unfortunately, I don't have the answers to a lot of these things. In terms of election frequency, I'm ambivalent on it. I have the privilege of being the only member that's been elected in the most recent cycle, but will be up for re-election in 2027 if I do so choose to nominate for re-election. So I feel like I'm best of both worlds or worst of both worlds, depending on how you look at it. But I think I'll probably be looking at making some form of individual comment or submission on my personal behalf, possibly if that option is available, or if there is a public consultation involved, I might choose to do that. But it does sound like that the council, based on those comments around the room, is that we don't necessarily have that unified position.
Thank you. I'll now put this to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Ostaszowski, Councillor Pitaway, Councillor McDonald. All those against is Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Black, and myself. So that is lost. That is lost. So no submission from the city. Okay. Okay, so we'll now go to the next item, which is 10.1.5, Maylands Peninsula Primary School out-of-hours school care update. Councillor Latta, you've pulled this. Are you moving the officer's recommendation?
Sure.
Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Latta.
Thank you. I'll speak on it, and then I have a couple of questions. I think it's good that the city has brought this back, although I'm not sure that this really concludes the process, but I don't know that we have enough information at this point to determine where to go with it. The report only talks about, the report says that the recommendation says that out of school hour care places will increase to 60 for term 2, but I don't actually think that that represents the total number of out of school care places. I think that that is the on-site out of school hours care places and doesn't take into account the off-site providers. And with the provision of on-site care through a state government election commitment, we've actually lost one of the off-site providers who has decided to close their business down. So I'm not sure that we have a net increase in out-of-school care places for Maylands Peninsula Primary School, but the off-site provider has not yet closed. So I think that we need to wait for that process to conclude and to determine what number of places we're looking at and what the wait lists look like to determine whether there is still a case to proceed with what the original proposal was, which was a potential ground lease at Gibney Reserve for an out-of-school hours care provider to build a facility. So I feel like with the provision of on-site care, that kind of exhausts the potential for on-site care. And it's still ramping up over this year. I think the undercover area hasn't been fully enclosed yet, and I understand that there will be some more places available once it is. But I'm concerned that we are not going to be in a better position than we were in a year or so ago. So just want to flag for everybody that in the future I may bring this back to council to consider the ground lease again if the situation continues to be desperate for families in Maylands. I was going to ask the city as well if the city has information about the offsite, but I saw the CEO shaking his head as I was saying that, so I think the city is not yet aware of it. And I believe that the principal only learned of it quite recently. So, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Deputy Mayor. Nothing. Anyone wish to speak against this? Anyone wish to speak for? I'm going to support this, that's fine, but I will make some comments just about what the mover said, because I'm a little bit confused, because if there's such a demand, why wouldn't, I guess I would query, if there's demand, the fact that there's an on-site option, how that's impacted an off-site option to close their doors, because you would think if there's demand, regardless of the fact that there's an on-site option, you've still got children going to the off-site option because they can't fit, the numbers are above what's able to be accommodated on site. So that doesn't weigh up for me the assertion that there's big demand, but one's closing. So I query that, but happy to support the motion. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Yeah, I'll just respond to your comments. I'm not sure that it's causal. I haven't spoken to that provider. I don't know the reasons for them deciding to discontinue their operations. I've just been contacted by many parents who have gone from having out of school hours care to being on a wait list, and they're feeling stressed about it. So I just raise it as I think that there will need to be an accounting of the availability and the demand, and I would really like to know the numbers that are on wait lists once we know the full number of places that are available. So
Okay, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. The next item is 10.2.4, rate exemption, 123 Bryn Avenue, Morley. Councillor Ostaszewski, you've pulled it.
Yes. Oh, no, yes, I did pull it.
Are you moving the officer's recommendation?
No.
No. Do I have a mover and a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second that.
No, so you're moving it? You're not moving it? Okay. Councillor Black, you're moving
I'm
it?
moving the officer's recommendation.
Yep. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ladder, Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just some quick comments. The Act does provide for us to provide for rates exemptions in these cases. Reading the officer's comments, I do believe that this is an adequate exemption for rates. I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Ladder.
Yeah, the same. They're eligible for a rate exemption. So.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Ostaszewski.
Thank you, and this is consistent with my previous votes on rate exemptions. I obviously want to acknowledge the important work that the WA Council on Addiction does and the role they play in supporting vulnerable members in our community. That is not in question at all. However, I won't be supporting this rate exemption. At a time when the city is already providing over $1.3 million in rate exemptions, I think there is a broader principle we need to uphold, that everyone who benefits from local services should contribute to them. This organisation, who wants the rate exemption, has reported recently revenue of over $35 million, with a significant increase in net income in the past year of around $4 million, largely driven by government funding. In that context, I believe it is reasonable to expect a contribution back to the community through the payment of rates. Ultimately, this exemption, whilst relatively small, shifts the burden onto ratepayers. And I don't think that's an outcome a majority of our community would agree to, especially when they are expected to pay. Even though I understand that an exemption can be applied under legislation, for those reasons mentioned, I won't be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Pittaway.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Ostaszewski in his comments there. I did some looking, and look, I do want to actually state myself that obviously these sorts of organisations do some wonderful work in the community. But I think all these things, as Councillor Ostaszewski said, from the council's point of view, really needs to be means tested. Because I printed off their annual information statement 2025, and their total gross income was $35,845,729, with a their actual net income surplus, not in deficit, surplus, was $5,429,730. So, you know, I think for the rates of whatever it may be, $1,600 odd for the rates, I think it needs to be means tested, because as much as we do have a lot of charitable organisations and so forth, as I say, you know, when you look at that sort of financial return for that organisation, they're doing extremely well, and that's great because that makes them viable and they can continue their great work in the community. But the council really does need to start means testing this, because obviously these decisions around peppercorn rents and so forth needs to be addressed. And this is a perfect example for us to sort of be able to get on the right foot here and actually make a stand on that and just say, look, I think you can afford a rates. You know, as much as you do qualify, I think it's I think you can afford the rates for this year.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? Deputy Mayor.
A few questions, Madam Mayor. The first one is around the $1.3 million of exemptions in rates that we had. Can the city confirm it and explain what is it built on? Like, is it all exemptions like as this one for not-for-profits?
So, Deputy Mayor, my understanding in the report is that the total approved rate exemptions for all eligible applicants in 2025-26 is the $1.3398 30, excluding this application. And my understanding is that that's anything that falls under section 6.26 of the Local Government Act 1995.
Can we?
Well, I've answered. That's the answer.
So 1.3 million dollars is for not-for-profits. Are we able to get separately the details of all those exemptions? Because we actually never received that all at once.
Yeah, so I'll go to the director. Are you able to provide that to the Deputy Mayor?
Not
Or
now,
to all
but,
councillors?
Madam Mayor, I can take that on notice and aggregate the different groupings that we apply exemptions to and provide that to council.
Thank you. The second question is around the means testing. Is this something that the city can do with regards to this issue?
I'll go to the director to respond.
Madam Mayor, there's no provision in the Local Government Act that would allow us to apply means testing.
So are they yes or no? Like, we regard them as qualify under the Act or no? Is this
I'll
the
go to the
situation?
director.
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So another question, are they the owner of the property?
I'll go to the director, if she has that.
It says the owner, I just wanted to make sure that they are the owner of the property.
Madam Mayor, if that's what's stated in the report, then they would be the owner applying for the exemption.
Sorry, just a follow-up. Sometimes we do have reports about the not-for-profits applying for exemptions for state government properties. So I just want to know that that's their property, not state government property.
So it's on page 157, Deputy Mayor, and it says, the properties have been owned by the WA Council on Addiction Incorporated since December 2025.
Okay, good, thank you. I thought I saw that. Thank you. I will support this. I think when it comes to properties that the state government own, I think that could be reconsidered because I have concerns about the cost shifting. But I think if a not-for-profit owns the property, and this is why I asked those questions, I think we should, under the Act, provide the exemption. They are providing so much for our communities in so many areas, and we all talk about homelessness and all those things. And part of that is, and I mentioned in the past, that all levels of government should contribute and help. And this is where we can help. State government properties, I think it's something that maybe we should reconsider because I think they should actually fund it. But here it's something else. Even if they have money, good on them. They can contribute more. I'd be concerned if the suggestion here is now we'll stop the rate exemptions and it will include also churches. And on all those places that you might be referring to or not referring to, all of them will not get the rate exemptions and all the not-for-profits in the city. So I will support this.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against?
Yeah, I just wanted to challenge
sorry.
that. Oh,
no,
sorry.
you've already spoken, Councillor Pittaway. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Sutherland?
So can I just ask, so these people have been here since 2025 and they've been paying rates and now they've decided they don't want to, is that right?
I'll seek clarification on that. It says they've owned the property since December 2025. You're asking if they were in the property prior to that?
They've owned it, they've had to pay rates, haven't they?
No, it's December 2025, so it's only been 4 months.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's true.
So we haven't sent a rate notice.
Yeah, that's a bummer. No, look, I do think it's a lot of money and they do get a lot of money. And I do think I know we've got to hide behind the Local Government Act and this is our job, but, the local governments or the state government does a lot of changing with these local government acts, but on these things they don't. And I really think the state government need to put a bit more money into these guys so they... I'm just dying here. I haven't... Oh, no, it's just working. I think if they've got a war chest like that, $1,500 is not that much.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? I'm going to be really brief. I completely respect the comments from Councillor Ossowski and Councillor Pittaway, and I agree with a lot of it, but we are bound by the Local Government Act, and the Local Government Act says that these people are eligible for exemptions, so we don't actually have the choice to go against what the Act says. So for that reason, I will be complying with the obligations, the legislative obligations, and be supporting this. Councillor Black, have anyone else wish to speak? If not, I'll go to Councillor Black to close.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate those comments there in reference to the Local Government Act Section 6.26. It's quite clear as to what is rateable land and what isn't rateable land. Some of that includes land which is the property of the Crown, land in the district of a local government while it's owned by the local government, and use for the purposes of that local government includes that as well. And where they've applied under Clause G, which is land used exclusively for charitable purposes. There's also other provisions in there, including for use by a religious body, non-government schools, and the like. So some comments made by Councillor Ossowski and Councillor Pittaway. I respect that. That's your position there. I have a different view on how, perhaps as a local government, we can foster and accommodate these organisations within our rates exemptions policy. I think as a role of a local government, we do have that facilitation and accommodation to do so, and that is my opinion. I believe that they're doing a social good for the community, and that could be servicing people within the City of Bayswater as well. I think it is a small impost on the grand scheme of things to allow rates exemption, and that's notwithstanding our obligations under the Local Government Act as well. So thank you.
Thank you. I will now put this to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Loiacono, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Black and myself. All those against is Councillor Ossowski, Councillor Pittaway, Councillor Sutherland and Councillor McDonald. That is carried. Carried. Okay. Okay, the next item is 10.2.5, the 25-26 statutory media budget review. Nobody's pulled this, but it's got an absolute majority. So can I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Loiacono, seconded Councillor McDonald. Councillor Loiacono, anything? Councillor McDonald, anything? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll just put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So we'll now move to adopt the remaining items in section 10 on block. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Latta, seconded Councillor McDonald. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So we'll now move to notices of motion. 11.1, Councillor Nat Latta, business case for the Les Hansman Community Centre.
Thank you.
Did you want to read it out and then I'll ask for a seconder?
Well, I'm actually wondering, can I just move the amendment that you have suggested with a small change?
What's the small change? And I'll just...
At the end of it, I would like it to say, and requests that this will be presented to Council by December 2026.
But I'm not moving it. It's her notice of motion. Okay. So just to be clear, you want to move my amendment with an additional word that says what?
And requests that this will be presented to Council by December 2026.
Yep, that's a minor amendment, so you're able to move that.
Yeah.
Do I have a seconder?
I mean, if it's yours, yeah.
I'll second it. Yeah. Councillor Latta.
Great. Look, I think this is a really good project. We've had many conversations about it, and I've been having conversations with the city about it over the last few months, and I just wanted to make sure that we locked in the time frame so that we have all options available to us in terms of potential funding stakeholders with the federal election kind of timeline coming up. I think it's important that Council is invested in our major projects like this, and I'm excited to see the the further steps that come. I just want to clarify for people that this doesn't take over the process or anything. The city will still bring this back to council at all the points along the way in order to build that business case for December 2026. This just indicates publicly that council supports it, sends a good signal to stakeholders like businesses or investors in the area who might be interested in what we're thinking about for the future, and also gives us that good time frame to do the advocacy that we need.
Thank you. I don't really have much to add to that other than just to acknowledge that we are still waiting on state government agencies, which seems to be a bit of a thing at the moment, that we're waiting on a few things back from the state government to remove the caveat on it. And that I just want to acknowledge that the administration is working on this. Memos have been provided to councillors for updates, and what this does is just acknowledge that work has been progressing and underway, and also signals it publicly. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So we now move to item 12, which is questions from members without notice. Are there any questions? Deputy Mayor?
Oh, sorry, Councillor. Sorry, I saw you before me. Okay, thank you. Just one question with regards to the proposed pedestrian treatments at the intersection of Caledonian Avenue and Mifflin Street as part of LCAS. Just wanted to know what's the status of that. I know we are waiting for Main Roads to make a decision.
I'll go to the director.
Pedestrian crossings.
Through the chair, so those crossings are being delivered through the LCAS program, so it's still being designed and going through the approval process with Main Roads. So it is supported in principle, but we need to go through the design process. So what the city has done is they've separated the treatments that have already previously been approved, and will proceed with those, and then at the same time we'll continue working on those additional treatments and have them approved and then delivered at a later date, most likely as a variation to the works that are going to be carried out on the already approved LCAS treatments.
Thank you. So just to follow up, so are we able to get the specific status of what's holding this specific project? Because I know the improvements to the roads have been waiting until the infrastructure is in place. We wanted to do it, if you remember, directly at the same time. Just want to know what's happening with that. Is Main Roads making problems? Just so we know, 'cause it's been a while.
Through the chair, it is progressing, and there's a bit of design work, and there's also some consultation that needs to occur. But what I can do is provide a memorandum with further information to councillors on the project.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Ostaszewski?
Thank you. Is the director able to provide an update on where we're up to with the implementation of our streetscapes team?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, we have formed the team. We recently employed a supervisor, or we made an offer. We're in the process of them starting at the city. So once they start, we'll be back into undertaking the works that are required. We have done some previous inspections around the city and come up with a list of works. So we're looking at getting that team up and running fairly soon, and we'll start seeing some improvements.
Councillor Ladder?
Thank you. Just in regards to the Garrett Road, Stone Street, Frinton Street intersection and the consultation, I know that the city took a question on notice from a resident regarding whether residents had been advised of the consultation. I wonder if council could be provided with that information before the next, sooner.
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, I believe a memorandum went out saying that the consultation was starting, and it showed the areas that were being consulted. So it was a fairly broad area that was getting covered. So it was covering not just that intersection, but also those other intersections that were having treatments done with the left in, left out treatments. So the consultation has occurred. I know that the manager has also been meeting with people out there, particularly some of the properties that are close to the intersection, because they have reached out and we are getting people contacting the city directly rather than just responding to the consultation. So that's why there has been some on-site meetings already.
Okay.
But I will provide further information of exactly where those properties are, who's been consulted.
That would
how
be
they've been
good because
consulted.
I'm being contacted by residents who are saying that they haven't been consulted, even though they believe that their verge or will be affected. And so it would be good to be able to see whether or not their properties were in fact did have a letter sent to them or somebody tried to meet with them. Thank you.
Councillor Pittaway.
Yeah, just a quick question. Thank you, Madam Mayor. To the officers, just on if the council's or the city's been informed on any updates with the Morley markets and the owners and their insurance claims on that.
I'll go to the CEO.
Yeah, so through you, Madam Mayor, we've had no further updates, so we still understand it's in the hands of the insurers, so no further updates.
Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a few quick questions. I'm aware that her Holiday House side fence has been down since the December storms. It looks like it's been taped off, hasn't been rectified. It does represent a bit of a security and safety hazard for Holiday House. Just wondering if there's a time frame for that to be repaired by the city.
I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, I don't know the exact time frame, but I'll take that on notice and provide an update to all councillors.
Thank you. Just another question, Madam Mayor. Residents raised issues with Armada Reserve, which is between Drake Street and Armada. Some damage of pavers and tree roots, possibly from a bobcat being operated onto the reserve potentially. Is the city aware of this? Or if not, could the city investigate if that's something that has happened and could rectify?
I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, I'm not aware personally, but we will take that on notice and investigate and see what's happened out there.
Thank you. I believe it's the wood chips as well that might have been scattered as part of that. And just one more, I'm happy to take this one on notice, Madam Mayor, maybe in the form of a memo from the city, but given recent events regarding supply of fuel around the nation, could the city provide an update to councillors in regards to business continuity, including any planning or actions that are being undertaken to ensure that a potential impact to a core city business is mitigated?
I'll go to the CEO.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, the executive and staff actually had a meeting in relation to that today to discuss business continuity. So we are working through that. So I'm more than happy to provide councillors with an update as things progress.
Anyone else?
One last one. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did ask this question, I think, at the last council meeting, and I'm not sure the response that was given. But again, my concern is with the property on Benara, the old Benara nursery on Cambourne Road. That property is getting worse by the week with weeds and overgrowth and fences down. So I just wondered if the council has, or the city has, engaged with the property owner there to reinstall fences securing that property, because it is accessed, you can access that property, and you know, it's just a danger to the community in one sense, but also I believe we should be advocating too to the property owner to develop that site.
I'll go to the Director.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Thanks for the question. Yes, we are aware and we have followed up since the matter was raised. There is history and complexity with the site. I'm happy to provide some more information as we're taking compliance action further.
Anyone else? No? Okay, so item 13 is new business of an urgent nature, and there is none. So I will close this evening's meeting at 10:53 p.m. Thanks, everyone.